All right.
Now your picture's gone.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Oh, you probably just fat fingered it and touched the camera.
Oh, well, how do I fix that?
Uh, it should be in the bottom kind of left region of your phone.
This is brutal. I'm having
Might.
so many technical difficulties right now.
I actually showed up early to kind of set myself up so I wasn't this guy. I'm not as set up as I'd like to be, but I'm looks like I'm a little better off than you are right now.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. I'm good.
Okay. How you doing, fella?
Oh man, I'm trying to deal with my laptop here so I can get a proper background. So I'm using my phone and we're in the middle of the polar vortex. So it's like a bunch of rain and sleet coming down on the metal roof. So it's really loud and annoying.
Oh,
How about you?
doing good, buddy. Getting a little bit chillier weather today than we've been getting spoiled with all winter, but hold on. The big beast of a heater on the roof's firing up. This thing gets a little noisy. The old propane burner.
Oh, I hear that, man. I don't hear it,
Um,
but I understand what you mean when you need that to stay warm. So what are your temps over there?
well, in all honesty, like there's going to be people that are way worse off than me. Like we're just getting below freezing now.
Right.
Yeah, like we've been super, super fortunate all winter. This is the coldest we've seen.
Well, that's not too bad. It's the coldest we've seen here in Texas.
How cold are you guys?
Um, it's like right hovering on the freezing mark right now, and I think it's supposed to go down to like 27 tonight.
Ooh, yeah. So you're right in the region that we are too, then.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like that's what you don't want,
Yeah.
especially down here. Like they shut everything down. Post office didn't operate today. I think garbage won't come tomorrow. I think schools were all shut down. It's crazy, man.
Holy shit. I should give a bit of a disclaimer here too, folks. If you see me looking down, I'm operating off my phone, which is where you can see me, but I'm laptoping it because the last time we did a live, I ended up putting people in jail as I was trying to like respond and like comments. It was a clusterfuck. So anyway, I'm a little more dangerous here with my laptop in front of me. So yeah, if you see me looking down, that's where I'm looking. I'm not staring at my crotch.
Well,
Dude,
I'm
you
doing the
might
same
actually,
thing.
as you're trying to piss around with your laptop, you could probably do the same.
What do you mean? Like
So,
look through
like,
my laptop, but use my phone as the camera?
that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm logged in to our stream on my laptop and my phone.
Oh, well, if I could just get the damn audio to work here, if I can get my microphone to work, because that's the only thing that's not working right now on this whole damn setup. Otherwise, we'd be good.
Okay, let's,
So,
the comments. I forgot about how hot and heavy the comments come in on these folks. So,
well, that's the thing. Like, I want to get my laptop working so that we can address some of the comments that are going on, you know?
right. Okay,
So,
Michael, 87 Fox 5 here. So now, folks, I don't even know that I have to explain this. I think everybody knows, like, obviously we all have like names on our birth certificates, and then we've all kind of named ourselves something online or whatever you want to call your company or whatever, right? So some I know, some I don't, but forgive me. You know what I mean? However it is you've logged into the stream, I may not recognize you, but I'm getting pretty good. I was actually telling this story the other day. So there's so many people that you meet online, and again, some you just know by their handle, some you know by their name. And regardless of all that, though, you start to like they form a place in your heart. Like, you know, you become like buds. And it's hilarious when I go in and like I've been a little lazy on getting back to like comments and stuff on videos lately, but I went in the other day and I was just kind of snickering to myself as I was answering. I'm like, I know this fella's name, never met him in my life, but like we've gone back and forth so many times that it's like I know him, but I'm like, I can't even picture what he might look like in my head.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean, man. And that's the crazy thing about, YouTube and all the social media stuff, right? Like, you should know the person, and then people come up to you, and then you're like, what car do you drive? What's your screen name again? And, it's like how we have each other saved in our phones, right? Like, you're still 92 LX
Right.
in my phone, right? Like, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's true. Well, there's that meme that goes around, right? Like, can't remember your name, but you're the guy with the supercharger, 373s, right? Drop springs.
Uh, so just, I'm actually going to switch over to um,
The
our
officer.
podcast setup because it's actually so noisy in the shop with the metal roof right now that it's just like
Okay.
a no bueno. So sorry guys, we can switch it over if it lightens up and we need to talk about the yellow car, the yellow beast, and we can do that. But let me just swap over here and make life better.
The technical difficulties of onlineness.
There we go. All good? You can hear me?
Yeah. Oh,
All
you
right.
sound better too.
Oh man, it's loud, right? Because you got a metal roof, you got all like that sleet, so it's almost like a hail coming down, and so it's like I hear all that, and then I'm frustrated with technology not working. I thought I'd have everything set up, but this is great. I can see all the comments. I feel like
Right.
I'm right in the mix here. I'll try not to put anyone in jail.
Yeah.
So there's actually a lot of comments. Have you gone through all these yet?
I'm just starting now.
All right, so I'm gonna throw a couple up. There's my wifey. She says, "Hola." Oh, Shifty G.
Yeah. Jared's here. Laura. Oh, Laura is Lewis. Laura
He's
Lewis identifies as Laura, right?
uh yeah, Texas is backwards with their infrastructure. So I got a little story today. I was driving the Lightning because they've sprayed the roads with the brine. And Gary, I know you guys don't even get this out in the West Coast, right? So brine's like
No,
this.
we do here.
Oh, you do get it.
Yeah.
So the lines are in the road. I posted it up on my Instagram story. So I'm like, whatever. The Lightning's seen that type of weather before. I don't want to drive any of the Foxes or anything like that. So, anyways, I'm out driving. It's raining, and I go through an intersection on one of the major state roads, and I look in my rearview mirror, and I'm like, "What the hell is that, dude?" I kid you not. I was dragging like 150 feet of like this wire, like the wire that you'd have in a big dryer duct,
Yeah.
like that, dude. It was like 10 like weddings worth of can dragging shit behind my truck. Cars are like a quarter mile behind me because no one, it's like right, and it's got like black plastic wrapped around it and all this shit. And I'm like, holy hell. So I'm at an intersection. I put it in park because of red lights. I get out there and I'm trying to like bend it back and forth. You know what I mean? To like snap it. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
shit is like industrial. So I go through the light and I pull into the fire station. And dude, it's so long that it's still like on the like shoulder of the road, wrapped around the mailboxes, and then like down into the driveway. And here I am in the pouring down sleet. And so yeah, I go and knock on the door of the fire department. I'm like, you guys got some side cutters? I got a little bit of an issue here. And he's like, yeah, I'll send somebody out. And then they're like, holy shit, like you weren't lying. I'm like, no, like, man, it was like when all was said and done, it had wrapped around my axle. I think it hooked my exhaust, caught my axle. And like part of me was like, whatever, I'll let it drag. Someone will grab it with their tire and it'll just rip. But I'm like, that would have gone through a flex line. That could have done like some serious damage. So I'm glad I stopped and cut it all off.
Dude, good find. I'm trying to remember if this was something I experienced firsthand, or it was a story a buddy told me, but like it's also vivid in my mind. I want to say that this happened somewhere that I worked. Anyway, truck came in, gal was driving it, and she had ran over a mattress on the interstate somewhere. And anyway, never thought anything of it, right? Just ba-boom and kept going, hooked a wire. And this thing just kept spinning and spinning and like yarning itself up. By the time, well, it locked up, right? It had to come in on a deck truck and like you couldn't even cut it out. It was so balled up.
Right. Man, that's
So
crazy. Yeah,
good
like,
thing you caught it when you did.
yeah, I know. And like sometimes you're just like, oh, hell, whatever, let it drag. You know what I mean? And then you start thinking about things. I'm like, okay, you know, if it's winding, or imagine it gets on the drive shaft and starts winding up around that. Like, yeah. So,
Not good.
anyways, yeah, there's that. But before we forget, man, these fires in Cali, like, I know we talk shit about Cali a lot as we do Canada, but like nobody deserves to like lose their homes and all their shit like that. So, anybody that's out there, I think like OG is out that way. Superfly, I think, isn't he? Or is he Oregon?
He's,
Or
yeah,
okay,
Oregon.
but we got the Cali guys, right? We got Sylvester and the First Class boys and everything else down there. I see a lot of people offering free storage for cars, but like looks like some people have lost stuff already, and that's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, I, I know like really high level areas, like, you know what I mean? If you said to me like, oh, it's in Hollywood or it's in like, areas like that, okay, but this Palisades, like I don't know where that is.
I only
Um,
know the Palisades from Million Dollar Listing. So
oh,
to know that it's on that show means we're talking some pretty high end real estate here. And, you know, it's fire just sucks, right? Because I was saying this to Brittany earlier tonight. I'm like, you know, you can rebuild a home, but you can't, a tree doesn't grow overnight. Like that
no.
mature landscape and all that type of stuff. So, you know, it's devastating stuff. Fire sucks. It really does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of it's weird, right? Because like in one sense, and now please nobody take this the wrong way, but like in one sense, from like a nature perspective, it's a very beautiful thing because like there's trees. Well, actually, I think most of them, in like the evergreen sense, where like the only time that they reseed is when their pine cones actually get hot enough to like let everything off and then the seed comes out of them, right? Like this is Mother Nature's way of going, time to clean this all up. Now we've stepped in as humans, right? Built all these structures and flammable deals and whatever. And we try to like back all that stuff off while Mother Nature still needs to clear her throat every once in a while, right? And we're just in her way.
Yep. Oh, it's true, man. That's
Now, who
crazy.
knows about this? I don't even know if they've talked about the cause of any of this, but yeah, when this all first fired up, like what was it, 2 nights ago or something?
Yeah.
I was of the impression that like it had kind of started in like the upper echelon of income brackets, like in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's the problem with social media, right? Like I saw a video of like people starting fires. You know what I mean? And there's the three sides to all the stories and everything else. I'm sure it'll all kind of unravel as time goes on, but I just wanted to make mention of it without going down the rabbit hole because it's nothing good, as I'm sure this polar vortex and everything else that's causing chaos here in Texas. The last thing we need is another ice storm and everything else going on. But let's talk about some ponies in the Smokies.
Deal. I like it. I don't know. Where do you want to start?
Well, OG already asked. He's like, "Did you fire that car up yet?" Because part of, you know, the ability to go to the show is normally a running and driving car.
It's true.
And I've seen you're messing around with tires, you're messing around with underglow, you're messing around with like all these, like I know the answer, but you know, I can bust your balls a little bit. It's like
Every,
everything but hitting the key. It's like you got everybody like on their
hanging.
on the, yeah, cliffhanger, edge of their seats.
No, everybody's taking their pokes today for sure. Um, Tomorrow, the fuel fitting is supposed to show up. Now, again, I know that I've walked myself into this like dead end that I'm currently in right now. But, you know, aside from wanting to fire it up and whatever else, it's not like I can fire it up and take it out for a rip right now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, as much as the rush is still there, we talked about this, I don't know, it's probably like 2 months ago on the pod, but oh my God. And as I say that, like the thought completely evades my head. It was something to do with, oh, I know, procrastination. That was it. And I had weather in my head and I'm like, it's winter, no sense starting it. But yeah, procrastination and how if you've got the time on your side, you're like, nah, you know, I'll piss around. Maybe I'll put some underglow on, do some tire things, whatever. And then next thing you know, bang, it's time to go. Well, the reality is, you know, I could, I guess, get this thing over to be tuned like this weekend, really. I can't because my kids got sports and shit. But I could at any time. I know Matthew's kind of slow, like most people are in Canada if they're in the automotive industry. So, but I beat the shit out of my trailer. I run the risk of God knows what when you're going through the passes, right? So there's really like not a huge amount of rush other than everybody, it seems, and myself are dying to hear this thing fire, right? But yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, over the holidays, I decided because I had this Aeromotive 340, like the whole in the hat setup and everything, just sitting here staring me in the face on the bench. And I'm like, you really want to go in there that bad, hey? Like, fuck, I just had the tank out of there, right? Like, put the 255 in. Well, anyway, tank came out, and with the Aeromotive pumps and their hat, for anybody that doesn't know, it's got kind of like a OSB like style connection on top, which means that at some point, if you haven't changed your fuel lines from back to front from the OEM stuff, you got to do some finagling because you're going to go from OSB to AN or whatever, right? And the one that I'm waiting for right now, because I'm still utilizing the stock fuel lines from like pretty much axle forward, the one I'm waiting for is that stupid little 1/4 inch return line. I don't know why this fitting is so hard to track down. I've ordered it like 6 times. It's crazy. But anyway, it's apparently showing up tomorrow. And you know what's going to happen is that one's going to show up, and then Saturday another one's going to show up, and Sunday another one's going to show up. Like it's just going to be because I've ordered them from everyone that I can possibly think of. But the weird thing is it seems like it's a lot of Asian outfits because I guess I don't know, Civics must have a 1/4 inch fuel line or return line or something out there.
Oh, it's
Because
their
like
main.
they run a 1/4 inch main, really.
I don't know. I'm just messing.
Oh, well, they could. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So everyone else is 5/16 and 3/8, like anything North American.
Yeah.
So anyway, and our Foxes, I guess, on the return side. So the worst part about this, and I know both of us talk about this at length, is the rabbit hole of like, you know, you were good, you were done. Like everything was pressure tested, you got no leaks, you're good to go. And then it's like, let's do this. And then you hit this roadblock. And then in the middle of hitting this roadblock, you're like, piss on it. Why don't I just tear the fuel lines out of this thing front to back and do those while I'm at it? Right. So I'm trying to stop the bleeding with this one stupid fitting that I can't find.
So fingers crossed this weekend will be the ultimate milestone for you. And you'll get to hear the beautiful sound of the root style blower. And might not be able to take it for a rip, but you know, we can put this to bed and we can start figuring out, you know, the show. So I did reach out to Mr. War Admiral from the 50 Asylum, and he told me we could share, you know, their news, which they have shared about the and I think that this was a good lure from Tom's point of view because there's a few things here, right? Like me and Gary we had all the best intentions in the world last year of doing a road trip, right? We started talking about the Foxtail 3000 and we're going to drive through Sturgis and look at Mount Rushmore and do this and do that. And well, that kind of unraveled a little bit. And, time has flown by. And so we started thinking about pits, and it's just kind of like an odd time of year, but it's like one of those shows that I feel like a lot of people are like, I haven't done it, but I want to do it. And me and Gary both, neither one of us have gone. And then Tom, kind of leaves us in suspense, right? He's like, oh guys, don't do anything until I talk to so-and-so. And, the whole pits agenda is going to change. So sure enough, that date comes, and I'm sure Gary, I don't know who got the phone call first. I'm surprised it wasn't a conference call. And the Asylum has done it again. They got their own area, like 60, 70 cars in their own pavilion, parking lot, whatever, right at the forefront. And these are hand-selected cars that the Asylum gets to pick, however people might feel about that. But it is an invite only, like special royalty, Asylum royalty. But with all seriousness, there's supposed to be cars that people have never seen, which Gary's coupe has never been seen. My Yellow Notch was seen at Detroit, but not in my personalized. Well, I'm not done yet either. So you can bust my balls same way that I've been busting yours. But so where I told the show has been, very S550 heavy in the past and everything else. There's always been Fox bodies, but maybe not as many, but the Asylum is there to put the Fox bodies right at the forefront in everyone's face. So if you guys are interested in going to pits, you feel like you have a car that's worthy and, you want an excuse to go to the show, you can reach out to the Asylum boys and ask for that invite. So that's sort of, I guess, the scoop of things. So now, all right, me and Gary don't have an excuse anymore. Now we got to plan and figure out how we're going to go.
Yeah.
And no
kidding.
I looked it up. It's a 15-hour drive and change for me from right here in Texas. But did you look at the distance for you?
I have. This has been a bit of a topic of discussion in our household lately because I'm confirmed pretty much. Okay,
did you register? Because he pushed me. He sent me a link. He's like, dude, you got to register. They want to collect that money.
Yeah,
only $70, guys. It's not bad. We're just,
Well, you know what though? For me, it wasn't, right? Especially these days, our dollar's just getting boot fucked. And I think it was 108 for me.
Ouch.
Yeah. What the hell is the name of Pigeon Forge? P-I-G.
It's actually Severville, something like that. But yeah, it's right next to Pigeon Forge.
Okay, stand by. We're going for directions.
Oh, Shifty G is asking about Mustang Week, Texas. That will be spoken of because that's very close, not too far after pits.
Okay. Drum roll, please. Come on, load, you son of a gun. It's too far for it to load fast. Okay, for all you Canadians, 4,177 kilometers. What's that in miles? I don't know, 3,300 miles?
I don't think it'd be that far. 46, 24, 2,500.
Still ugly.
Yeah, it is ugly.
Yeah, it's saying 1 day and 14 hours. So what's that? 24, 38 hours.
So, and this is possibly with the wife and kids.
Yeah.
Is anybody out there watching done that far with the whole family? pulling a
No,
trailer
okay.
through mountains.
Keep in mind, 4,200 clicks one way. Okay, we're not talking round trips here either. Like, this needs to be done twice.
So, you know, you did mention the possibility, roping in Mustang Week, that you could like break this journey up. You could almost do like a donkey fix it, right? You were talking about driving to pits and then coming back to Texas, leaving the car, and then doing the Mustang Week thing a month later. Is that still in the cards or in the possibilities?
When is Mustang Week again?
I think it's like the last weekend of April, like literally that next. And
Oh, right.
here's the problem with Mustang Week. Towards the end of April, there's Radwood Austin, which is actually a pretty cool event, right? Because all like 80s and 90s stuff, but like anything goes. So you get your Europe stuff, you get your domestic stuff,
Right.
and everything else. And then the Lone Star Roundup, which is everything older than 62. I believe. So you get all this super cool rat rod stuff and classics, and you know, the women dress up as like pinup girls and shit. It's a pretty cool event.
Yeah. I know, man. I'd love to do it all. But you know what? I mean, we may as well like bust up the monotony of talking about mileage and everything with maybe throw a little latest and greatest of Trump, right? I mean, I don't know how many Canadians out there are as excited as I am to become the 51st state, but sign me up.
Someone actually put that comment on one of my videos. They're like, how do you feel about Canada becoming the 51st state? And I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good podcast discussion. So
yeah. I mean, I know that there's a lot of like whatever surrounding it all. But like just from a high level perspective, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Now, I think I have heard some relatively intelligent people sort of read between the lines and break it down, and like they kind of talk of like something that would sort of parallel, say, a European Union, right? Where whatever, here's your North American passport type thing, right? Canada's still Canada, US is US, whatever, right? Which I think is a hell of a deal, you know?
yeah. Well, I think it just kind of like if you can, you know what I mean? I always said like if there was a passport exchange program, you know what I mean? Like if somebody from the US wants to easily go to Canada or someone from Mexico or what, it's just, I feel like taking NAFTA to like the next level and being able to utilize the resources, the expertise, the education, and everything else that there is. And, you know, there's pros and cons. There really is. But I think the biggest problem is that any of those components of people traveling between borders, those policies are so archaic. And I think that that's what really needs to be addressed. Like poor Gary stuck up in his igloo. You know, he's been talking about, you know, like you could just claim refugee status when you come for pits.
Yeah, true enough.
Like maybe that's your way of doing it, you know? So
yeah, I won't shower for a week. You know, I just came down from Canada. Yeah. Foxy McFoxface 93. I wouldn't hire that POS. I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. I'm telling you, dude. There's a few of them that, yeah, I can't think of enough bad things that I'd love to do to them. But yeah, let's not get into him. But you know what? I mean, I guess it's somewhat worth touching on that too. Like, I know that greasebag's still got something up his sleeve. All he's done is just announced that he's a loser publicly. He's still hanging on,
yeah,
you know? Like they still gotta, and that side of politics too, it's a clusterfuck to no end. I mean, they're gonna piss around for the next handful of months. Like this will be drug out forever, you know?
well, I think the election, you know, somebody said it really good actually from Saskatchewan. I think, you know, they probably could have forced an election sooner had he stayed. And now that he's done this stunt, it will get drawn out till October, and then they're all going to get their pensions and all that stuff that they're, you know, waiting on.
It's a safety card for sure. right?
Yeah.
Like it's a political play. He's just the one that has to lay on the sword and deal with the, public media lashing and whatever, which is good. I mean, that's like 1/millionth of what he deserves, But yeah, I mean, it is good news. Everyone's fairly excited about that. I mean, we're not excited about who might take his place, but then, yeah, I don't know. And there's weird things too, depending on how deep you get into the stories of it all. Like this was done years ago, and what ended up happening was that political party actually like almost kind of like recorrected itself during the short stint leading up to an election, which I can't imagine. They'd have to just spew nothing but BS out of their mouths for the next 9, 10 months to get
Yeah.
anyone to turn for them. Cause I mean, it's like the stats are crazy, like all-time low support levels. Like I'm talking barely over 10%, like mid-teens. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, you know, the dollar isn't helping anything. I think I hope it changed the morale. There was actually a good post. Someone was like, "Oh, everybody was so occupied with the fact that, the leadership was what it was and just kept like that almost turned it into an excuse." You know what I mean? So now it's sort of like, okay, there's some opportunity here and it shouldn't, people can't just blame stuff or whatever. It's like get out, do your part. you know um like voting is a right, so it's everyone's time now to like do something about the situation. Like, yeah, it kind of sucks in this limbo stage, but like it really doesn't matter which way that it happened. I think it's just important that if there's anything that can be done, now's the time and the opportunity, to do it. And I think that if, Canada doesn't at large figure itself out and the sheeple, um, it's a friend of mine always says that countries have the government they deserve. So in other words, if the people want to behave or believe or not do things or do things or whatever, well, the government's going to reflect, who the people
Yeah.
are and what the people are doing. So, I've
Yeah.
this has been, I guess, probably, thanks to social media, the most publicized, or I guess, I don't know,
Oh, for sure,
reality
dude.
check. You know what I mean? Like the rest of the world has been able to see something. I remember when at first, they thought, oh, the women thought he was cute. And it's like, oh, he's young and this and that. And then like now it's, finally things are coming to light and everything else. But yeah, Canada's got a rough road, man. Like it's not like just some guy's going to come in and everything's going to be changed. Canada has been on a slippery slope for a long time. I get it. There's lots of reasons behind it. And that's why I think hopefully with Trump and everything else, again, retention, bringing in the right people, keeping the right people. I don't know who the hell wants to be in the cold, but I'm sure it's better than other circumstances.
Yeah.
But anyways, don't want to get into
Yeah.
politics too much here.
No, it's true, man. There's a rough road ahead for sure. We've definitely let this happen to ourselves, I don't know. I was gonna kind of answer Jared's question. Yeah, I mean, this Pierre like does seem like the real deal. I've heard him in long form, I've heard him in short form, like he says all the right things. Now, I think this is a piece of advice that anybody can take to the bank, at least if you're one of us, like the people, right? You can never trust a politician further than you can throw them, right? I mean, they'll say whatever they want to say. So I don't know. We're all hoping, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's funny listening to a lot of the things that have. Oh, I know. The other thing I was going to say before I get into that thought was to your point about Canada kind of like being on the public stage. It's crazy how like widespread throughout the world, like especially even down to the US. I mean, I'm sure whoever's on here from the US right now, if we said to you, who was the prime minister in 92? There's no way you would be able to say it. You know what I mean? Unless you paid really close attention to that stuff, and no one ever did. But like, dickhead, this guy is world renowned. Like every news channel's had him on a few times going, look at this dumb fuck, right? Like, so I guess it goes to show you good publicity, bad publicity, it's all publicity. And man, this guy, I mean, the thing that amazes me the most about him is like his kids will get spit on the bus. Like, how about that for a legacy, right? Because you're such a POS. I
Oh,
mean, on that note, I need a beer, buddy. Give me
oh,
half a
go
sec
for it.
here. It's close though.
Yeah. So it's funny. War Admiral's like, oh, Trump would drive a coupe. And I put a post up. So we're actually streaming. It depends who clicked which link that's watching this right now. So some people are watching Gary's link, some people are watching my link. So when we respond in the chat, it goes to both channels. So I highlighted the comment that I wrote and it came up as your channel, Gare, saying that Trump would have a Celine wing, to match the hair.
Nice.
So speaking of which, and I told Gary this, I haven't told Tom. I put up that story last week, right? Because I took the deck lid off the yellow car. I was going to go with one of my lip spoilers, shave the lock off, et cetera, et cetera. So the Celine wing came off. And then, like, I was looking at the car later on. I'm like, I kind of missed the Celine wing. And all of these, like, I mean, dozens of messages, all in favor of me putting the Celine wing back on the car. Like there was one person that said, aside from Tom, that might have been Tom's secret account to go bust balls, like an anonymous or like a John Doe thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. You are not bringing that wing to pits.
It's funny, man. And I mean, like, having now seen it without, I can definitely say that I probably would have went the same route as you. Like, yeah, you know what, this thing's got to go. And then you kind of look at it again and you're like, huh, really? Like,
Yeah.
this is weird. I would have never thought that I would have been going like, maybe it was okay with it.
So what ultimately kind of triggered this is that Red Dog did a phenomenal job in terms of like the color match. There ended up being a little bit too much green pearl in what he did. So like it's like 99% of people would probably be like, oh, unless you're looking for it, you wouldn't notice. And I think you commented something similar even with the green when you got your deck lid, redone,
Yeah.
right? So, I messaged him because he's a perfectionist and he's like, oh man, yeah, no, I can get that right. So now I think I'm going to get the Celine wing deck lid fixed. I'll get the lock shaved off that one as well. And then I'm just going to have both. And then if Tom's going to ban me, I'll put the Celine wingless one on, and then I'll swap it up. But I feel like part of it too is like the stance isn't done on the car, so I think like the wing helped with the fact the car's sort of sitting in 4x4 mode. And then yeah, you kind of get used to it to a certain extent, or maybe it's just the yellow. Like the yellow is so bright and in your face, like just add a big in your face wing while you're at it. I don't know. So anyways, that's the story on the Celine wing, but I needed to throw that out there since we got Spano in here who isn't taking his wing off anytime soon. And, Tom's like, I'm throwing up in my mouth right now.
I know. Look at even Della. Invite rescinded.
Oh.
Hey, this is actually an interesting question we could maybe beat around a little bit. Foxy, fuck, this is a good handle. Oh man, I can't even click on it. Comments are coming too quick. Interestingly enough, so I did put out a video kind of talking about doing the tire swap over, and it's sort of funny because the front, I probably went like a C hair too skinny, and the rear, I went a C hair too wide. Maybe not though. Like there needs more context to fully understand that, but I do actually. They're sitting right here too. Look at these beauties.
Yeah, I noticed there was actually somebody in Ontario that posted up a set, and then I was going to tag you, and someone already had, and then like literally within the same day, you messaged me and like, oh, a local guy had a set for me.
Yeah,
So sounds
yeah,
like you were taken care of well. You should
2
ask for
hours
more
away.
stuff.
Yeah, he was 2 hours away from me, but like in all honesty, so I had kind of placed an order for, you know, like do wheel hub and all that stuff prior to these things showing up, and they showed up and I went, huh, I don't know, these are pretty good shape, you know, like I think you could send them. But I guess to answer the question, and then we can whatever yammer on about all the rest of it, is I have quite a bit of room up front now. So 3 mil ain't gonna change anything.
Well, the other thing too, right? Like, even though you would have been, I guess, close, or if you're on the cusp, in the front as you go down, you get camber working in your favor, right? So,
Well, with the 255s, like, yes, all of that kind of science still took place or whatever, but they were just like, just a big tire. Like, okay, put it this way. I mean, I think everybody already kind of knows what came off, but like, just have a look at these things in unmounted, unaired format. And you tell me, like, if you were to just take a glance at this, what size tire you would think they are.
getting his reps in, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a good man. I always say, I know you can get away with a 255 in the front, but it's too much. Like it's not necessary. I feel like you're just asking to get like pulled in the ruts and the roads and all that shit.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, does that, I guess it kind of does it justice, but I mean, whatever. Cameras are always weird, right? Like,
Yeah.
in person, this thing, like,
Put your
I don't
foot
know, I
up
don't
there.
have the
Let's
biggest
see.
hands in the world, but like, it's a proper big tire,
Yeah.
you know?
So you went from, if I remember right, you had a 255 40 18.
No, 35 series all the way around, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
255 up front, 275 in the back.
And now you got a 235 45. Or sorry,
235 40.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, well, this was kind of the beauty of rigging myself up on my phone like I did. Like, I've got like rim poke now with the 235.
Well, how was your camber before? Like, were you running a lot of negative camber um, to help offset your 255 situation, or were you like within spec, generally speaking?
Like within spec at ride height, yeah.
Okay.
But here, I'll show you. Let me.
Oh, I keep forgetting you have a banana too.
Oh yeah, the old girl, she's over there. Let me, oh, shit. Don't want to cancel cam, I want to flip cam around.
Yeah, we can get a little tour here under the hood and stuff so we can see what's going on.
Front camera, back camera. Okay. Oh, there's all my beer. Sorry about that.
Those high lifes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, dude. Check out the rim poke now. Where the hell is my camera?
See,
maybe looking from the top.
No, you can see it. It's good. Like
Can ya?
you got a little bit of stretch there. I could see it. I guess that'd be the question though. Like, would you? I don't know. Because if you went to 245, then you would have more sidewall.
I would have been a lot taller.
Yeah.
But you know what? On this 9-inch wide wheel, at least like peripherally, when you looked at this thing off the car, this front tire almost looked round versus like having a square top to it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I think you need 19s.
Well, I know the funds are getting thin. The soup's getting thin around the KASL Customs household. But and then rear, I mean, I tried to kind of ramble my way through a little bit of an explanation here, but I think everybody probably already knows. Like, or maybe they don't, because I mean, there's only a handful of people pissing around with air ride, but like, obviously you want to like take advantage of the air ride when you air it out, and therefore a skinnier tire plays in your favor. But when you're at ride height, you know, you kind of want all the meat in the world. So it's this fine balance of, you know, offset and tire width and everything else. And I think I've probably like nailed it, especially once I get those spindles on the front. I think I'm, at least
Yeah.
with this, these are like a plus 22 mil offset or something. I think I've kind of landed where I need to be. So,
Well, the other thing too, right? Like you got to remember when you're a low guy, people really can't see the width of your rear tires or your tires in general, right? Like, it's
totally.
if you're down that low to the ground, you know what I mean, between the gas tank cover, the body kit, or whatever it is, like you're not going to see how. It's more about how close can you get your fitment, you know what I mean, with the lip of the quarters without cutting in your tires. It is
Exactly.
really, you know, what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. This 265 was like built for a 9-inch wide wheel. Like it's just a super square fit. So worked out pretty good.
Nice. Let's see under the hood. Show off
All right.
the.
Onto the hood tour. Yeah. She's,
So it's literally done. You just need a fuel fitting
yeah.
and put on the negative battery terminal, and you're turning the key.
Yep. You know what's weird, buddy? This is technical difficulties. Like, I must have camera mirrored on or something, because when I go right, it's going left. I don't know what
Oh,
the fuck is going on here.
that's some
I'm
iPhone
all
shit.
over the. Sorry, what am I doing here? Where the hell is the camera even? Okay, there we go.
All right. And let's see your because I actually haven't seen these live real time. Your radiator hold downs you did.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm going the wrong bloody direction here.
Yeah, those are
So
tidy.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. They could probably like be fine tuned a little bit more. Like I could probably tighten up this gap a little bit, right? Maybe overshot the mark a little bit there, but like I don't know. I always try to say this, like I am the furthest thing from an engineer. I mean, Christ almighty. Hillbilly engineer at best. So yeah, after a handful of iterations, I've got a set, one of the iterations sitting here. All right, that's kind of them.
Right.
So like they
And
got
then,
provisions, like I'm running the stock rubbers in them and stuff.
okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah. So there is some dampening or whatever. But yeah, they fit in there pretty good.
Will they be for
Fans are good.
sale?
Maybe. I mean, I'm maybe, if I'm being honest, I'm maybe still a little bit embarrassed, like at the overall, you know, fit, finish, and whatever.
Right.
But and the other side of it is, well, it is 3D printed. I know what a lot of people are probably thinking right now. You're going to trust a 3D printed piece to hold your rad in place. Well, for now, yeah. I'm going to hope the upper rad hose holds it out of the way if anything lets go. But yeah, I'm going to give it a go and see what, like, this is a high temp resin and all that shit. So, I mean, in theory, it should all work. But yeah, I was kind of hooped otherwise. So,
Tom says, for the love of God, take the stickers off your battery.
what, you don't like the Motomaster? This is Canadian shit, Tom. It kind of looks like Motocraft, the Chinese version.
Take them off now live. I actually kind of like this when you're on the camera and I get to like go through the comments.
Yeah, just watch me eat shit.
I'll take my turn. Actually, I feel like the sleep might have let up, so maybe I'll switch over and I can walk my phone around a little bit.
Right. Okay, well, and here's kind of like some laying on the sword stuff. So I'm not really like one thing that's kind of driving me a little nuts, and I don't know if anybody's even seen this because it's one of those like sort of little things, but once I point it out, it'll probably stand out like a sore thumb. This boost. Um, so that's the boost, essentially like boost signal, boost reference, whatever that the snow performance gauge and like their whole kit comes with, right? So, and it's one of those like it's almost oh, what's the one I'm trying to think of now? Like the Dakota Digital, like
Oh, the
um,
water temp thing.
yeah,
I know what
yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah. It
yeah,
almost looks like
Arroyo,
a microphone plug for like, or a guitar plug for an amp. Like it's a big
totally.
unit. Yeah.
So, yeah, like it's a nice plug and it's watertight and all that, which I'm not too worried about watertight, but it just stands out like a sore thumb, right? I'm like, could we do a 90 here, guys, or something? Like, get this out of the way. So anyway, there's a little whatever afterthought. My bracket and everything for the vintage air worked out. That seems to be sitting where it needs to. And yeah, I think we're good to go.
Nice. So
Um,
I
just
noticed
AC
that
needs to be charged. That's all.
I noticed you have different cold air piping on now.
So this was the stuff I was originally kind of working with, and then I was kind of saying that I thought I might paint it, but I think I've got enough like just goofy little brushed aluminum things to maybe, at least for now, rock this.
Yeah. Do the shakedown and all that, right? First. Like you got
Totally.
it all together and then that can be next winter stuff.
Yeah. Right.
You don't need any more excuses as I see
No,
your underglow shining there.
actually, you know what? I put what started this whole thing. I should tell that whole story. Well, here, remind me. I'll tell the whole story after we're kind of done this walk around. I got my beer in my hand again. There's even meth in there, folks. Like we're topped up. We're ready to go.
Ready to make boost.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's about all that's interesting going on under the hood. There's where my boost gauge is gonna live while in the meth controller or whatever. And yeah, other
Very
than
nice.
that, well, I got the panel off there because I know Matthew's going to want to get in there and do a bunch of digging around. So
What
thought I'd save him
shifter
the
handle
grief.
are you running? That looks super stubby. Or is it just the
Uh,
camera?
well, I got just like a round kind of 8-ball style. I don't even
Right.
know what the hell that's off of. Bought it years ago for sure. I don't know what the hell short throw I've got in this thing, buddy. I know it. I definitely bought it when the years started with a 9. Like it's that old.
Yeah. Could just be like old school Hearst, man.
Yeah. I can't. No, I don't think it's a Hearst. Shit, I can't remember now. I do got to get some mats for this thing too, actually. Might have to give our gal a call.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck these are out of, dude. Like they're out of something new. Look
Looks
at
like a
like they
truck
got a
mat.
yeah, they got a hole in it for like holding on to keep it out from underneath your pedals. The back ones fit great. Front ones not so much.
Right.
Yeah, man. That's kind of the latest and greatest.
Nice.
Okay. Let me flip this around. Settings. Man, they need a quicker way to do this. Front.
There you go.
Okay. Get out of all this. Okay. So how this whole underglow thing started is the kids, I don't know, a couple years ago, excuse me, asked me for LED lights for their bedrooms, right? So, and we got my two younger gals are in the same room, they're in bunks. So we outfitted their bunk bed like a fucking UFO, right? LEDs everywhere. The older one, she's got her own room. So we went Actually, I don't think we did anything on the walls. We went around her kind of bed frame thing too and stuff. So I ended up with a spare kit. Anyway, I was cleaning out my home garage the other day and I'm like, huh, this thing's just sitting here doing nothing, right? And I've always thought it'd be kind of neat to have lights, especially on a 4-post, right? Like wrapped around. Because like that's where you need the light, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like how no one, I'm probably giving someone a trillion dollar idea, but why does nobody put lights in garage doors? Because they always block the lights that they're when they open, right?
True.
So much like a
You
hoist,
shut
like
your
why?
mouth. You keep that patent to yourself, sir.
Yeah, I know. I better get on the patent deal right now. So anyway, I put a strip on the hoist. So I've only got one side done. And anyway, my youngest, Sadie, she comes to the shop the other day. She's like, Dad, does your car glow green? I'm like, oh no, buddy, you know, it's like just this thing, like a strip that I had laying around. I put it on the hoist. And she's kind of like, oh, I'm like, do you want, like, they call the car mint. Do you want mint to glow green? Yeah, like I'll help you do it or whatever. So anyway, I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag with the video I got coming up. But yeah, Sadie came by, me and her rigged it all up. I'll be honest with you, dude. I mean, I thought about cutting the, like, this is that standard kit. I think it's pretty much the same kit we put on the shit box. So you got like essentially 2 lengths of LEDs for each side and they're already attached. I thought about cutting it and, you know, like I figured how hard could this be? The wiring, right? It's got to be just a hot in the ground. But then I'm like, I'm going to cut this thing and wreck it. And then I'm going to have to get another kit. Sadie's going to be disappointed. So I went through all the trouble of like slinging the light up over the diff and doing all the stuff. I left it all together. Well, anyway, leaving it that way and like wiring this thing up and over the diff and coming along the frame and all that stuff, I'm like, honest to God, I'm embarrassed to let anyone go under my car and see the zip ties and the shit. Like, it honestly looks like I wired that kit when I was 12 years old.
Well, now you're in asylum compliance, though. And I think there's probably a lot of people in your boat, you know what I mean, that just throw it on. Because let me tell you, when I did Chuck's car, like, I'm pretty sure I ran the wiring. I think he had like open-ended or like, because the way the subframe connectors or something were, like I was managed to like fish wire like through frame rails and shit. And like, it actually was like an adventure in terms of like, if you want to do it right and you're thinking
Right.
in your head, like, this is a $50 or $35 LED kit.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, here I am, like spending all this time just to, you know what I mean, comply with the asylum. So,
I know.
and so of course, as soon as I see your car, I'm like, oh shit, the yellow car. Like when I get it up in the air to do some of the suspension stuff, I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna have to order another kit. But like, I want to like lock it into yellow. Like, I don't want other people's remotes messing with my shit. Like, I
Right.
just want to like a firm lock. That's it. Shut it down, or like maybe yellow LED only or something.
Yeah.
Because like, what other color would I want it?
Right. Well, that's kind of it. It is sort of neat though, like how you can whatever tell it to dub itself into music and all that
Oh yeah.
stuff. Like,
Oh, it
so
is.
yeah, Sadie had a hoot with it there last night when we got it all hooked up. But Della, I mean, we could raise the hoist. I'll show you how embarrassing this is. Like, it is not pretty. I mean,
Oh.
not that I try to like hold myself out to be some, 5-star mechanic or anything. Like, take my advice if you want it, is kind of the way that my channel rolls. But that I would not recommend.
You know what the worst part is? I bet you'll never have an issue with it.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? Like, you go to try and clean up all those zip ties and everything, I guarantee you something's going to break or something's going to like not work
Yeah.
as a result. It's because
Well-
you're like, screw it, let it fly. It's going to be fine.
Totally, right? And the thing with it is, like, I guess where my mind was at the time is I'm just like, okay, the overall outcome of this is pretty cool, right? Actually, I'll tell you a story from the 90s here in a sec. It was kind of came out of me and Tom texting today, and it reminded me of it. But like the other side of what's going through my head is I'm like, I'm really not married to this thing. And to your point, this thing cost me the same amount as a flat of beer in Canada. You know what I mean? Like we're not out a lot here, right? So it was a combination of like, let's just get it done. Plus my daughter, she doesn't want to sit there and piss around and watch me straighten wires and stuff, right? So I was in kind of a weird headspace doing it. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Like I'm torturing myself to get this all in. I'm like, let's get out the zip ties. This is happening, right? So anyway, and you don't, that's the other thing, because it like whatever, it's on there. If it ever comes off, I'm never going to lose any sleep over it. Or if one falls off going down the road, big deal. So I don't want to like drill holes, riv nut, you know, like I'm not mounting fuel lines here, you know?
Oh man.
Actually,
So
here,
Tom's
it's
already
funny that Spano's weighing in on this. Because Spano, I was going to call you last night, dude. I'm like, how did you go over the diff? Like nice and clean and like, I don't mean over the diff. Like, how did you come in tight along the frame and everything? Like, where did you go with yours?
Man, I'll tell you this. So Tom sends me the original Street Glow, $600.
Oh,
So if you want to sponsor me there, Asylum, I will put your Street Glow on. But this is like the OG. I think these are like gas-filled tubes. Yeah, with a 7,500 volt transformer.
holy Christ.
That'll give you a heater.
But then I think you're only, you can only run that one color that they come,
Yeah,
right?
that's yellow. So
Yeah.
those are your colors at the bottom there. But yeah, no, I don't like underglow that much.
Well, that's the thing. So back in the day, I did have a real like starter underglow kit. And by starter, I mean, I had a purple, I think it kind of, well, yeah, it was purple.
I had the purple one too.
Yeah. License plate cover.
Oh, I did not have that.
Yeah. I had the surround. And dude, like it was a heat magnet, right? So you had to have it on a switch, right? Oh, cops, shut my idiot light off. Like, how did I think that looked cool? It was on this car.
Unreal. I had the
Yeah.
purple like tubes. I had a white hatch, and I forget, yeah, like the proper like gas filled shit. And yeah, I remember wiring those up, and it was like the coolest thing back then. And like I think purple was like one of the only colors. Like it was, I think you could get like purple, pink. Like they were very, like I don't think like the greens and all that stuff were, maybe there was a blue option, but like I
Purple was
think it was,
popular.
yeah. So
Yeah,
oh,
the
man.
old school silly stuff we did, right? From
Well,
frosted tips to neon underglow.
here, let me mute this. I'm gonna try and I'll try and get on my phone here again. We can do a little exchange of sitting on the sword of not being done. Oh, there's that mirror my camera feature that you were talking about.
Oh, dude, turn it off. You got to mute one of these.
I just did.
Oh, and leave the studio on one. No, yeah, like on the one. There you go.
All right. Going
Sorry,
through the
folks.
shop.
You're looking at the tech department, the mechanics. You're looking at everything right now.
There we
Hey, you
go.
gotta
V10.
give us a wide view too.
Oh, my bad. There we go. New M5.
Hey, okay, while you're doing that, show me the old wheels. Dude, I think I kind of like the old wheels.
What, the bronze?
Yeah.
Oh man, they're underneath this.
There was
So-
one picture you had of like one of the new wheels on the front and the bronze on the back. I'm like, I don't mind that.
So my goal here is to actually powder coat the centers of these white and then have a whole white on white thing going on.
Okay.
So that's the plan, but that's Beamer stuff. So here we go, whale tail for everyone to see.
War Admiral is just like chewing his lip off right now.
Oh, I know. So like I might have to like talk to Molly about this, but it's got like some warranty needs because it's kind of like the seam is all cracked. And Gary, I know you've seen that in person. So that was sort of like the main reason for wanting to take that off is because the wing wasn't in the best of shape. But here's the cool skateboard I got done. Red Dog
Yeah.
custom
That's
masking.
unreal.
And like you wouldn't be able to see it right now, but he actually like ghost pearled in my tip logo right here. So in the sunlight, you can actually see that. But yeah, it's a super cool piece.
No doubt.
So my plan is to like mount that like underneath the trunk lid somehow. This will be
Oh,
Keith
yeah.
from K-Design, so it'll be up to him to like figure something out in here, you know?
Right.
But yeah, you can see I've been messing around trying to get the whole stereo stuff sorted out. And then the taillight situation, which I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's a tricky one too, hey?
Yeah, it is. And I've actually got one more option that I'm working on. I got a clear set of tails that are getting yellow wrapped. So technically it'd be yellow taillights. I don't know if it'd be too much, but it'd definitely be different.
Right.
So yeah, the Surbinator hooked me up with some oversized hardware. So I've been doing like little hardware updates. Maybe I should take my stickers off, but my stickers have yellow on them. So Tom, is that okay? It matches the car. I think like a yellow top Optima would probably be ideal in there, but I think the coolest thing, I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up because I know it didn't very well on the GoPro, but like the proper yellow
Oh,
backlighting,
yeah.
like even the needles and the gauges are yellow.
Cool.
So yeah, everything's kind of still ripped apart and wires dangling and all that good stuff in there. So,
Those are the same seats we put in up in Ontario, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I
those
got to
look
get
cool.
the rears done to match. And then yeah, that's pretty much it for the interior. And then I just need my altitude adjustment. Once the conies come in.
I just realized I'm sitting here like a dickhead squinting, looking at my phone when I've got my laptop here and I can actually see a bigger picture on it.
Oh, I got a
Sorry,
bunch
folks,
of
everyone's
powder
staring up my
coated.
nose.
I got some fresh Dutch powder coat here.
Yeah, that powder coating turned out nice, hey?
Yeah. So I went extra. So these springs here will go lower than what's in the car, and then I'll install a set of grabbers in there, and then that should fix the 4x4 mode because yeah, way too tall. But see what I mean? Like, well, the trunk isn't down, but I can put it down and then people can kind of just doesn't look right.
Yeah, it's kind of a trip.
You know what I mean? Like, it's missing something. Even with my lip spoiler on, it's missing something.
Right. I mean, it could be one of those things, right? That just like because the Celine wing is such a like in your face wing, it could just be the adjustment.
See, like this car has no wing, right? And it looks
Right.
great.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Oh, see, the white on white, it looks great. So that's why I want to do the white on white over here.
Right.
But no, I'm happy with the interior and everything. Just with the sleet or the salt on the roads, I don't want to drive this.
Oh yeah, true. Did you get rid of the blue one?
It's in the other bay. I got a deposit on it actually. So It's tentatively spoken for. But
Okay, Laura says no wing.
oh, okay. So we got 3 people for no wing. I don't know. I could throw the lip here. Got everything real time here.
Oh, it's painted too, right? You know what, dude?
I was
Well,
almost thinking of doing one of my bigger lip wings, but
well, or here's the other thing. How about doing just a black one, not color matched?
I don't know. Maybe I'd have to. I
You'd
guess I
see
could
it
go with
more.
one. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna mess with the taillights some more. Is amazingly enough, I feel like the Celine wing kind of dictates which taillights, or sorry, wing versus no wing will dictate which taillights I go with.
Yeah.
So, but that's the scoop. Yellow machine. Need to get it to pitch. So we need to figure that out, like logistically speaking here.
Yeah, we started talking about that about an hour ago and then veered off into every other ditch under the sun.
There we go. Anybody want some wires?
Wires in the house. Your
Some
Wi-Fi is
snipers.
working pretty good around the shop.
Yeah, here, let me just cut back over here 1 sec.
All right, back at it.
Nice.
Yeah, after I forget what happened, and then funny enough, my Wi-Fi that was running off the Starlink. Actually, I was dicking around with that before a pod the one night,
Yeah.
and I was like complaining that shit wasn't working right, and then I reset everything, and knock on wood, things have been actually like really good coverage everywhere. Because like considering the weather is the way that it is right now, like usually I was like, man, I'm going to be in for a hard time tonight, but Elon must have like boosted the G's in the sky or something.
Right. Yeah, because it's I mean, hell, even just where you're sitting right now, right? Like it's been spotty there before, let alone like out in the shop area.
Yeah.
But that was pretty smooth.
Yeah, not bad. So, yeah, man. So what are you thinking? Like, are you going to drive straight? Like whether you go with wife and kids or you go by yourself, like, is it, well, would that change your route possibly? Or is it
Okay.
like if the wife abandons you, is this something where like I got to fly out to meet you and drive with you part of the way type
Right.
deal?
You know, okay, on that note, and I mean, I'm gonna be like trailering down, so we'll have more than enough room, but and I haven't seen his handle pop up on here yet, so maybe this is a good thing. He won't know I've said this. I think we as a community should lean in to Joe, 89 Screen Puff, and say, hey, listen, right? Especially if I'm leaving from like the west coast of Canada. Like, this is the closest opportunity you have to get in, shotgun, and roll across the country with us.
Man, that asshole bought another car too.
That black thing, did you see it all cleaned up?
Yeah.
It looks good.
He's gonna take the title. Like he is the Foxbody hoarder, and he's on like the smallest, you know, area per capita for
Landmass.
Foxbody probably.
Okay, but anyway, as far as like the trip's concerned, so interestingly enough, the shortest route for all you Americans out there runs me through like the north. Actually, you know what, dude? It's the same, it's a very similar shot to what we were gonna do. What the hell did we call that? Oh, the foxtail.
So you do like the Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore, Sturgis, like kind of
Yeah.
cut down and then you or over and then down type deal.
Through North Dakota. Yeah.
So that'd be a cool drive.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess it gets pretty flat. Like I was gonna say maybe that would be more of a hilly drive, but yeah, anyway, it kind of runs you like along the top, closer to Canada, and then drops you down through Minneapolis, Chicago. Christ, I got to go through all the scary states. And yeah, down into Tennessee. But my thought was like kind of head south, head east.
Yeah, because I was, you know, in my head, I was like, damn, 15 hours is like, I feel like it's almost as far as going to the drive was to Foxtoberfest in reality. And like, I was looking at it, I didn't even, so the good news is to drive from where I'm at does not include I-10 or I-20 because they both suck.
Which one
And
did
I've
we
traveled
pound our guts out on?
I-20.
20.
Yeah. So, or actually, it might have been 10. I think we might have pounded along 10 and then scooted up to 20 a little further on. Cause I think there's a spot where they near each other, but the Tennessee route actually has you go north and then you cut across I-60, which I don't think I've ever done that one before. So I don't know if it's any better. I would assume maybe it is, but you never know.
How's it work? Lower numbers are further south, higher numbers
Yeah.
are north?
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Very logical.
Yeah. So, then the other part of me was like, well, if you were in the trailer, and of course, kind of depends on who's traveling, and doing what, then I'm like, do you rotate, which car's in the trailer a little bit and kind of, divide things up and
Let them stretch their legs. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I know because if like that's one option, kind of the Smokey and the Bandit style, or I drive to you, leave the truck and trailer at your house, and
Then we do a proper cruise.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that works.
So, because I mean, well, let's see here. So, from me to Austin.
Well, you're looking that up. We got Foxy McFoxface here. So the Glow Shift Pod, I believe, is designed to fit on top of the factory one. And I didn't like the way it was fitting. So I actually am just running the Glow Shift Pod on its own in lieu of the factory one. So I did put a piece of like vinyl, like that edging molding that like fits over a sharp edge on either side of that Glow Shift pillar to kind of like blend it in more to the weather strip and up against where the windshield is. And it turned out really good. So the only thing that I would say is when I drilled the hole for the factory mounting, I actually plastic welded like a spacer on the backside so that that spacer would butt up against the pillar and like seat properly to like hold the pillar in place. So hopefully that helps you out. But yeah, no, I was in the same boat because I just couldn't get it to fit the way I wanted it to with the factory pillar on there.
OG, thanks for coming in, buddy. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt that
Oh, no worries.
little explanation. Okay, so here's what I just did here, bud. I did from me to you, and then you to Pigeon Forge. 5,362 kilometers.
So that is a Foxtail 3000. That'd be 3,000 miles.
No, this is the Detch 3000. Actually, the route is pretty much the Detch 3000.
I see what you mean. Yeah, no, I was just going like that's pretty much 3,000 miles though.
Yeah, this runs you through Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico. Oh, weird. We didn't go through New Mexico. We shot further east and came down through that little sliver of Oklahoma. Because I remember pulling into like as soon as you hit that little sliver, well, it was right around the time the alternator or the battery lights started flashing in that car. We had to hit that O'Reilly's. You pause on me? We might have paused or lost Chris, ladies and gents. Anyway, finish my story. Yeah, we went through this little sliver of Oklahoma, and I'll never forget. It was like, oh, I think we did fully lose him. Maybe somebody's. Oh, okay. I was gonna say somebody send me a message here to let me know if I'm still alive or not. Yeah, we went through that little sliver of Oklahoma, and I was like, did we just lose a rear end? Like I could smell gear oil. And then it just like stayed that way forever. We pulled over and checked it and stuff, and nothing wrong. And it's just the smell in that area of that little sliver of Oklahoma and northern Texas, right? You just kind of smell that bitumen, oily smell. It's pretty wild. Well, while he's gone, folks, I don't know if you guys want to ask questions or you want to know something about what the hell's going on at the shop here, because I film here, right? But very rarely am I live here. I usually do the podcast at home. So yeah, I know, Jimmy. I must have we must have jinxed it. That bloody Starlink. Oh, that's the right noise though. There he is.
Power blipped. Call Tom.
Yeah, storm's coming in hot. Okay, buddy, you kind of missed the tail end of that. But anyway, yeah, I remember going through that little sliver of Oklahoma and going like, you smell diff fluid? What the hell is that, right? But yeah, so there's a couple options, right? Could shoot down to you and then shoot up. It's telling me it's like a 15-hour drive from your place up to Pigeon Forge. And hey, maybe we should throw this out there too, something you guys can kind of jump in the comments about. Who else is going to pits?
Yeah, like who else like over here want to get on a crazy journey? Like maybe someone in Cali, OG, or Oregon. OG, man, you just come over to Texas and we convoy over.
Yeah, he's been working hard on that car of his.
Yeah, that car's looking good.
Yeah, agreed.
And kudos, man. I gotta say, like I didn't realize there's a lot of people come in and start the YouTube thing, and he's been doing good. You know what I mean? It's all about like consistency and keeping at it. And I like the Black Widow. It's a badass ride.
Yeah,
makes all the right noises and has all the right looks.
Totally. Hey, Mari Spano says hi. Hi, Mari. They've had their little one now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Congrats, guys.
Baby Bambino Spano.
Yeah, that would be a Bambino in that household too. That's awesome. Time for number 2. Mari's going, son of a bitch, keep this little orangutan away from me right now.
Yeah, he's probably like, oh, it's going to mess with my garage expansions.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm actually interested to see how that goes in the household there. I know, both of them are definitely into the cars and that whole scene and stuff, but just with like throwing kids in the mix, right? That can change a lot. You got a lot more to juggle. Oh, Lorenzo, right? They had a little guy. Yeah. Well, congrats, guys, from both of us.
Absolutely. So, Spano, you're going to pits, I presume, right? Because I was just thinking, there's a lot of the northern guys that would need or probably want an enclosed trailer, because like mid-March to end of March is kind of unpredictable in terms of weather sometimes. And I think you were on an open trailer to Foxtoberfest, if I remember right. But I guess that's like the only weird thing. Well, even for you too, right, Gare? Like the northern states up there are no joke, and there's mountain range and everything else, right? So
yeah,
just kind of never know.
Enclosed is key.
Yeah.
Even if you're just catching the tail end of winter, right? Like just that fine shit on the road can be violent.
Yeah.
You're pretty much sandblasting. So open trailer life, he says.
Well, there you go. Just throw some plastic on it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, just get the like the snowmobile style kind of blocker up front. Throw a rock tamer on the old truck and go. Okay, but hey, I think or no, maybe we just moved on from that, but 89 screen puff. I think
Well, this is dedicated to him. This water is from his land.
there you go. I think as a community, we need to lean in because put it this way. I don't know what a flight's worth for him from, his island to say Vancouver, but like, I'll definitely go out of my way. I'll go the 4 hours west to pick him up at that airport, and what a great, like, cause I mean, to think that he could, container up one of his cars and make that a reality. I mean,
Or like he
that's,
could let one of them go. Like he could bring one to the mainland as like call it a test run.
that's true.
You know what I mean? Like just pick one of them that, like, and any of them would do like the cars are beautiful. They'd all sell, So whether it was like, I think the SSP should probably stay in Hawaii. But like the 93 Royal Blue GT, like shit, like that can come here.
No problems. Yeah.
Someone did ask, by the way, what happened with the blue T-top car. So it's at paint, but the problem is so cold here. Like most of the bodywork's done, but Bobby can't even spray primer. It was literally like 50 degrees in his booth yesterday when I stopped in there to check in on it. So, yeah, so that car is actually already sold. And once it's painted, I'll be doing a couple touches to it. And it's actually going to Massachusetts.
Oh, right. It's got
Yeah,
a new home.
I need another blue and silver GT in my life.
88 Shadow Fox. He's probably got a pretty good point. Maybe we should keep the Foxbody Hoarder off the mainland. He'll be,
I know,
right? No, but I think that'd be pretty sweet, right? Like get him over here at least in on his shoes and drag him over to a show.
Yeah, I think he should. Or like, you know what? He has no excuse not to like, because I know the first class guys, they've already got their date for their Cali show for 2025. They're already making the posts like, you guys have 5 months to figure out how to get your cars to the show. And like that'd be Joe's closest point. So maybe we got to do something. He can be the guest of honor. And we can meet him over there or something.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, just, well, I mean, shit, I don't even know when the last time he would have been on the mainland. Like, like getting him over and getting him in the mix in one of these shows. I know he's definitely never been to one of the shows. So,
actually, what's a nice car and who should bring it out is Aldo Pinchera here, who just said good evening. If you look at his thumbnail, that's the blue Detch on air.
Oh, no shit.
So he ended up with the car. I'd sold it to a gentleman before I made it down to Texas, and I don't know if he lost interest or what the deal was. I know he was busy trying to get his pilot license or something like that to the Fox. So Aldo ended up with the car. That's a beautiful car. It'd be cool to see another coupe with a body kit on air ride south of the border. Just saying.
There you go. Hey, so Gene just said, yeah, he wanted to talk about Altered Stang's Detch car. And somebody, forgive me, I can't remember who said it earlier, but somebody had mentioned, hey, how about a little Detch chat? So yeah. I've been I haven't even asked you offline about this. And I mean, that car's been floating around on Altered Stang's channel now for what, 3-4 weeks?
Yeah, so the car
I'll let you start telling the story, pal. I gotta pee and I need a beer. So
okay. So the car popped up the end of last year on a Detch Facebook group page, and it was posted by the widow. Her husband owned the car, and had unfortunately passed a number of years ago. And I knew of the car. The car had been sitting for a good number of years, and it was actually sitting at a fairly well-known Fox body shop in the greater Toronto area. And a good amount of mods done to it, as have been seen and floating around with Steve from Altered Stang's videos and whatnot. So, of course, the car goes up. I start getting all these DMs. Oh, did you see this for sale? Did you see it? And I started chatting with the owner / the widow, and she was really trying to find the right home for the car, and was pretty adamant, of like that meant more than the money, just because the car meant so much to her late husband. So part of that, which would be a little bit of a topic for another day, there was some comments that were sort of made in regards to, oh, don't sell it to me because it'll end up leaving Canada. And yeah, so what, I get that, and she felt that way as well. Like, she wanted the car around. She wanted to be able to see the car again in the future, or know that it's in the area. And I get it. I respect that. Um, and I told her, I said, I don't care about buying the car. Like, I have enough. I'm kind of tapped out when it comes to how many vehicles I've got at the moment. But I'm more than happy to try and find the car a right home. So she told me there was a number of people coming to look at it, and I knew who some of them were. Some of them that, would probably be looking to part the car out, or some of them that are dreaming and didn't have the money to buy it. And then Steve, who from Altered Stangs, who ultimately ended up with it. I've known Steve since I was 16. The first time that I met him was on the main roadway of the small town that we're from during those years. I was in my white 90 LX hatch that had the purple underglow, and Steve was in his 87 T-top, and we raced down that, main road, and we were just neck and neck. It was just one of those, both cars slow as fuck, right? Like stock, nothing really done, but you know what I mean? It was a fun, great time back in the day. So that's when I first met Steve, and Steve was in that T-top, which was the second Fox body, and man, he loved that car. I ended up actually owning it it went through its iterations. Steve sold it. It was a pretty rusty car, and then some trade deals went on. I ended up with it, and then it ended up getting sold, and it actually ended up living, despite how rusty it was. Boogie, it actually was the one who had painted it. It ended up getting painted Ferrari yellow with a Detch kit. And I want to say maybe 8 years ago, I saw it getting parted out on a local site. But anyways, ever since that car, Steve wanted another T-top in his life. And that's why, if you guys follow his channel, it's not that big. He's been trying to grow it and do all the things, but he's got a notch, and he actually T-topped a notch that he just recently got painted. And so he was going to make his own perfect T-top. So this car shows up. It's got the noisy vortex. It's a T-top car. It's a Detch car, because even though Steve never had a Detch, he appreciated what they were. So we went back and forth. He called me. He was actually quite nervous about spending. He didn't tell me how much. I have an idea of how much he paid for it, but he was kind of picking my brain, is this car worth whatever range, or how much would you pay for it? And, it's a car you don't want to part out. We know the intake manifold on that car is worth $3,500. You know what I mean? We know that the blower setup, the T-trim, is worth another $3,000. We know the Simmons wheels, you know what I mean? But that's not the road that car is going down. You got to buy the whole package. And to him, I said, it's sort of like when I bought the number 5 car that was super rusty, but it had that heritage and, made me want to restore it. So couldn't have been a better person to end up buying that car. And the reason why I gave the backstory about him and the T-top and whatever else is because it's ironic how I ended up with the yellow coupe that suits me from back in the day and my personality to a T, with all this super cool Dutch history to it. And then Steve ended up with this T-top that literally suits Steve to the way that he was
Right.
completely back in the day. So we both like just ended up with these two really cool cars with really cool stories. Steve's got his work cut out ahead of him, right? Because
Yeah.
like there's some rust, there's some things, excuse me, that that he needs to address on it. But that's the story of the car. And apparently, it was a numbered car. It was numbered kind of after the fact, and nobody knows what the number was because apparently someone tried to steal the car. They stole the plaque, and you know, there's like no documentation. It's sort of like how the Dutch 3000 car, he got 1987 was the number. You know what I mean? So it probably was a number that was important to Nate, the previous owner that built it. But like, unless someone's got an old Polaroid from the 90s when, you know, the car was built and everything happened. So that's what Steve's trying to hunt down.
Yeah. Well, he references the fact that he's overpaid for it.
Yeah, Mustang blindness, I think is what he called it.
Right. Yeah. Hey, just a quick pause. My real good buddy Brownie is on here. He was actually my wedding party. So Jord, massive shout out to you, bud. This guy actually does go back with me to like the early days of this car. So yeah, he's in the chat there.
Well,
So hi,
welcome.
Brown. Yeah, so he keeps referencing the fact that he's overpaid. I know I've kind of watched the unfolding of them picking it up, right? And then fuel pissing all over the place. I'm like, holy fuck, man.
So,
like,
have you seen the fuel come out of the oil pan yet?
yeah, because he pulled the plug, right? And it's just like
filled.
Right.
Like when I saw that, I was like, you know, the intake or whatever, because he said that it blew off the regulator. Like, okay, whatever. Old AN line, similar to what happened with the ship box, right? When we first started putting it back together after those lines sitting out in weather for so many years. But yeah, dude, when he pulled that drain plug on the front plug, we're not talking the bottom, like in the back that like 80-90% of your oil comes out. He pulled the front one, which is usually just a little bit, and like it's all fuel. So I don't know what like at the end of the day, like the motor, it'd be cool if it was all together. If he saves the motor, everything's good, then that's, but like the reality is it's the foundation and all the other components to that car which make that car, you know, what it is. You know, so like if the motor is the biggest hurdle that he has to face, like that's not the grand scheme of, you know what I mean, the overall car.
Oh, dude. And I mean, you know, anybody that's had even one of these things apart knows that, you know, you're going to throw, I don't know, 30% of the, you know, usable shit in the garbage anyway, right? Like, so I'd say, yeah, like perfect scenario, you know, he can kind of band-aid this thing together, get it to flash and sort of see what he's dealing with. Worst case scenario, you know, like just surgical style, this goes here, pull it all apart, pull that motor and whatever, see what you need. And then put it all back together.
Yeah, despite all the fuel in there, like it takes a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of fuel on that motor, but it would take a lot of that motor running with fuel washing through it to do a substantial amount of damage. So I like, obviously it was still turning over and he got it to fire up and all those things, but yeah, super cool car. And I'm happy that that he got it. Like, I can't own them all, you know what I mean? And I understand some people's reservations of thinking, you know what I mean? Yeah, like I get it, right? I took those two Canadian cars, right? And then they ended up coming down to the States to somebody else. But it's no different than a Celine going up north.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like that's why I want to do the documentary and all that stuff, right? It's a super cool story. They're super cool cars. And, you know, I hate when people, because a lot of people would, I feel And that's why I like the fact that Steve got it, because I know that Steve is going to get it on the road and it's going to be seen, like guaranteed. Yeah. Like if he doesn't get to paint in 5 years, then fine. But like the car is going to live on. There'd be a lot of people that would have bought that car with all the intentions in the world, and it either would have sat, become forgotten, got parted out, or any of these other things. And you know, that's why I am thankful that the widow was a little picky choosy in terms of, you know, where the car was going, and at the same time knew what the car was worth, because, you know, like, again, the parts alone were worth money, but well, it's a piece of history. It is.
Yeah, 100%. No, it looks like a super cool car. And I know, like, we talk about this all the time, right? Like when you get a car like that, that's got that heritage based soul, you know, people are aware of it. And I don't mean like, I don't know, like that's kind of a weird thing to say, right? Like people are aware of it, because nowadays, like people are aware of a lot of cars due to the fact that we have this in front of us, right? Like screens and videos and Instagrams and Facebooks and whatever else, TikToks, right? But like, it's neat that people know about that car that probably haven't seen it in 20 years. You know, like we're talking like old school, they're aware of it, you know? And I think that is way cooler than like any of us can splash our cars all over the internet, you know? But like that car's been in that guy's life for, like, I think the story was he bought it new, right? And
it was almost new, I think. Like it was like within a couple of years, if I remember the story correctly. It was like the car's a 87, or I think, yeah, it's probably an 87. I think he bought it in 92 or something like that. Like,
yeah.
So, and you know, it was a GT car. I think it was a red GT initially, right? So it was a complete LX bumper molding conversion, Detch kit. The fact that it had that AFD1 rear wing on it, which apparently is the only one that was ever officially made. I didn't even, so the first one I ever saw was on the D50 car that Jason K owns. And it was at the Toronto Auto Show the one year when Detch like first released their body kit and everything. And for anybody, like, think of like an exponentially glorified SVO wing with like a vertical support bracket down the center.
Right.
And what I didn't realize until recently is that the one that was at the auto show on that car was like wooden clay. So it was like prototype still. I never knew that. And I guess the one that was on Nate's car was like the one and only that was ever made. So pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think it's neat. I'm always, I don't know, I think I'm cursed with this, right? Like no matter how much intel or background I find, I'm always left wanting to know more. Like, you know, was this, I don't know, this, not to get into the guy's situation. I mean, nothing's been mentioned about how he passed or whatever, but like, did they know he was going to pass? Like, was a lot of this planned? You know, like, or was the widow left with a little bit of a plan as to like, hey, you know, here's the deal, price wise and all that stuff, right? Like, I don't know. That's maybe just me in my head, but I'm always curious about that, right? Because I think well, anybody watching here, I mean, there's no non-Foxbody people, so I think everyone's going to relate to this. Like, if anything happens to me, you know what I mean? Like, have I had conversations with my wife? I mean, sure, but when you put yourself in that situation of like, holy shit, you know, like now he's gone and I can't even remember what we last talked about. Like those are scary situations, you know? It might be worthwhile to write some of this stuff down, or, you know, if you got a close buddy that you can share this with and they can then kind of step in your place and have the conversation with your better half or whatever. But, and I mean, it's not like we're selling, you know, Ferrari F40s here or anything, right? But in this scenario, at least in our community, you kind of are,
Yeah.
you know?
It's true, man. I don't know the story. I know that part of me thinks that no matter how much you have a plan and like you've discussed the succession of what would happen if, um, I think the reality of once like a situation like that comes to light and what actually happens is like two completely different things.
Totally.
When I bought the Super Noof car off that widow, I know it was something that um like it wasn't immediate what had happened to him. Like it was fairly quick, but it wasn't like boom. Like they knew there was a time and his time was up and whatever else. And it got really ugly with the family and her sense of like who should have the rights to own the car. And ultimately that's why I ended up with it, because she was so fed up with people within the family and the friend group like bullying her or fighting over like who should be the one that should end up with the car. So, she was kind of like, screw all you guys. And she sold it to me. Now, ultimately, and I think I shared it on my What Happened To video there, like it did end up going back to a family member, and it was like a nephew that had worked on the car with the uncle. And versus like I got the emails from some of the family, like, how dare you end up with that car and blah, blah, blah. Like there were some pissed off people in that situation. So um everything worked out in the end. But like to my point, um things when people pass, like no matter how good of a plan you might have, like it's not an easy thing, right? So um Foxy McFoxface here actually asked about Derek, and that's actually an interesting story as well, because Derek was supposed to die like in the late 90s. He had, I think it was a brain aneurysm, something to that extent, and he wasn't supposed to survive it, but he did. And as a result, while all the health stuff and everything was going down, Detch closed.
Mm.
And so when he came back and recovered, he was a pretty frustrated individual. And I didn't get to spend as much time as I would have liked. And that's why I want the opportunity to interview some of these older guys, because they are older. These guys that knew Derek in the heyday were older professionals that are like beyond retirement at this stage. But from what I know of or knew of Derek, very eccentric, very blunt, to the point. Um, and he wasn't what you would expect. Like the first time I met him, he was at Mossport Drag or Raceway. That's where I met him. And I asked somebody like, "Oh, is Derek here?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, he's here. You can't miss him." And I'm like looking around. I'm like, maybe is that him? Is that him? And then all of a sudden I see a guy wearing a trench coat, smoking a cigar. And I'm like, no. And then he like turned around and like I had an idea what he looked like. And I'm like, holy shit. Super, like I said, like it was pretty much because when I met him, it was, I was trying to build my silver notch. I was trying to get him to fight the bootlegging of the kits and get him to warm up to what his brand was. And it was, he shared it. He said like, this was the story of Detch was a nightmare to me. It was like taken away. I don't want to relive it. And just kind of very blunt and very short. Like if you like an engineer's emails are always like one-liners or bullet points, that was communication with Derek. And everything was, what's the word? Like, I don't want to say factual, but like, almost like numerical, like everything was computed. You know
Ones
what I
and
mean?
zeros.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to know, a lot more to the story. And actually, yeah, that's about Nate's car, right? Left to the daughter.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob had mentioned a couple things here.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, there's a lot about Derek, and I'm hoping to get a lot of that. Like I said, so I'm not the only one speaking about it, because honestly, I was very late to the game. I'm just happy that I managed to meet the mad scientist, is what I call it. In fact, I have this, which I can sort of show. So the second time I met him, he drew this at Starbucks. And this is the ASG setup for the rear suspension. So if you can kind of make out, you got tire, here's your control arms, and then here's the whole linkage. And he was going on about how important this pivot point was in the center in terms of the axle geometry and everything else. So that was 2017. I think he passed in 2018, like the next year.
Right.
So literally, this was on a scrap piece of paper at Starbucks. I had it framed. But that was him. Like, that's everything was, he'd draw it out, or he'd like I said, computational ones and zeros.
I don't know. I guess everybody kind of looks at their life a little bit differently as far as what's important to them and stuff. But I mean, when I'm dead and gone, if there's one person that I've touched to that level that he touched your life, I mean, I'll be smiling,
Yeah.
Like, how wild is that to think? I mean, I'm sure he even spent his last year, or however much time he lived beyond having that meeting with you, never thinking twice about that napkin. But
No,
you
absolutely
framed
not.
it.
Yeah, and actually, so the last time I ever saw him was at the Joe Da Silva car show for sick kids, which is actually a fantastic turnout in Toronto. Some of you guys, well, GTA guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. Individuals south of the border, if you've ever seen posts of it's like Foxtoberfest in one city. Some of these shows and meets that they do. And I was literally in from Dubai, and this is when I was sort of like trying to relaunch the Infamous Project, right? So my silver notch was done. I had the Sonic Blue Celine clone, the Blue Brother. It was the last drive that the Detch 5 car took before I stripped it apart. So I just got that off Bring a Trailer. I had the Strawberry car and my Lightning. So I flew in from Dubai. Lewis and Laura flew up. Had some other friends. Everybody drove a car, and we all went to this show. And I asked Derek to go there because I wanted Derek to see the Strawberry car and the number 5 car. And ironically enough, the Silver Hatch that I ended up buying was there at that show as well. And there's a video that I released, and Derek's there, and I ask him if he can sign. So he signs the number 5 dash and he signs the Strawberry dash. And I say, Derek, is there anything that you want to say about Detch Motorsport? And he's like, you can tell him I'm not dead yet. Like, and that's something, just the way he said it, the tone, because like everyone thought he had passed a decade beforehand, right? Like when Detch closed and Derek was sick and he's gone and everything else. And it was just, and that was literally my last interaction with him.
Wow. Unreal, hey? What did he die of?
I think it was cancer related. I didn't. Okay. I'm sure there's some people that know more, and like I do speak with his son Peter, but you know what I mean? It's just one of those things of like, out of respect, I don't want to poke and prod, pry or whatever, into that stuff. I know that I knew he was fighting stuff again, but yeah, unfortunately, it did catch up to him.
He was needed somewhere else.
Yeah.
Building ASGs in the sky. Huh. Yeah. I know. However, your plans on telling more about this story unfold, that has to happen.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and you know what I mean? I know we razz on Canada a lot, but at the same time, like there's a lot of Canadian pride, and I don't want to, you know, there's two sides to everything, right? And like that to me is one that's extremely important. Um, and not like the Foxbody community is great, and well, there's a lot of other communities that are great, and there's lots of cool stuff. Shit, basketball was invented by a Canadian. You know what I mean? So there's lots of things that I can appreciate, and I think just that one, like it was that magazine article that was Canada's best kept secret, and that was with the Dutch mule car, the SN95, the one that I bought. Um,
Right.
so it's sort of like that. It's, you know, we don't just live in igloos. We got some cool innovation, and you know, we do have nice cars and everything else up there. They do exist.
Yeah. 100%. See whose comment I just highlighted?
Oh, look who it is. Well, you know, it's only like lunch for him right now in his time zone.
I know. Joe, your ears must have been burning, buddy. You're gonna have to go back and listen to the first 2 hours because you
Hey,
were
Joe,
main
is,
topic.
is this any good? I've been drinking this Way Key. Says it comes from your volcanoes. It's pretty good.
Um, Robert, where's Gearhead at? Hey, you know what? So I got a message from Gearhead in and around Christmas time. I don't think he'd mind me sharing this, but he was saying that he's been thinking about making a little resurgence, and he's not sure when or how or what. But anyway, I hope he does. I know we all do. I think everybody enjoyed Matt, right? And great kind of pillar of the community and shared a
He's
lot of
just
good stuff. And
he's a different personality. You know what I mean? Like he was always learning with his car, and I think that that was the cool thing. You know what I mean? He was, um, I don't know, just very complimentary. It was fun to
oh,
like do some content with him, you know. And it's funny. The 80s, 87, 88, whatever the T top that I got, right? Somebody's like, "Oh, that's Man Blue," and I'm like,
yeah,
"Fuck, that's such a good name." I'm like, "That's the name of the car."
yep. No, I know. I loved his program, and especially from the perspective of, like he was very honest and wore his heart on his sleeve. Like wasn't at least before he got into it all at the levels that he did, like he really didn't know a whole lot about what he was doing, and he was honest about that with everyone. And I think there's a lot of people that resonates with, probably more than not, you know like not
Yeah.
everybody's running around with spark plug gap figures in their head, like. So I think that was like such a beautiful angle to run with, right? And and obviously his emotion when he was showing someone's cars and stuff, like that was unreal. So I know he's been busy, and he did start a new gig not too long ago and what have you, right? So but anyway, if he can find it in himself, well, I think it's more the time than anything, right? Busy with kids and everything else too, but find the time to get back out there. Yeah, I think everybody would be pretty excited to see him back.
Actually, yeah, James just put, I missed the bloopers were good.
Oh
That,
fuck. I
yeah.
I mean, he almost should have splattered bloopers throughout the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Maybe that's just it, you know, like like I feel like even if it was structured and he was just doing like one video a month, because like, man, he was, you know, doing the crazy like 2 videos a week thing and everything else. You know, and we've both been there as well, trying, and
Yeah.
it's hard to keep up with that sometimes, and it's like qualitative versus quantitative, and I think we've all just come to the terms that YouTube sucks as a career. Um, well, at least in terms of paying the bills as a career, but I wouldn't want to give it up, or I don't think he should give it up either. I think just a little taste here and there for everybody, some bloopers.
Totally. Okay, I got two things here. I'm laughing at 1K Notch here, fucking guy. So, Danny, actually, guys, you got to go over and check out his YouTube channel too, because, well, close to home for Chris, he just did a video on Chuck's car, or just released a video on it. Anyway, great video. But yeah, he said, well, whatever, we got it highlighted there, right? New job, spending more time with the family and whatnot. But okay, 1K Notch. It's cute how Gary lights up when Joe shows up. Listen, Joe is my spirit animal. Okay. And I know that's weird to say about another human because usually it's an animal that's your spirit animal. But Joe, I don't know. He and I don't know if we lived in another time together or what. I think we were probably related. Special guy. And it's crazy to say that, right? Because I kind of talked about a little bit earlier when we were talking about relationships that you start with people just like commenting on videos and posts and shit. It's crazy, but you get this like connection somehow. I don't know how that works because Joe's thousands of miles, oceans away from me. And yeah, we shoot the shit like we grew up together. It's one of the coolest parts about this community.
Yeah. It was funny, actually. BJ Adams had posted up the other day. I guess I don't even know what to call him. Like, he's another hoarder. We call him the Celine hoarder, I guess.
Oh, Christ, my wife's on here now. Jesus.
Oh, maybe mine told yours, and now the two of them will be on.
We're only drinking water, dear.
Yeah. So, shit, where was I going with this? I got all sidetracked. I just pulled a Gary. What the hell was I saying?
I don't know. I almost spit water all over everything.
Someone in the comments can have to
we were talking about Joe and like connections across oceans and like connecting with people, commenting on shit.
Oh, I had a good thing in my head. Oh, BJ Adams. Thank you.
Oh, Tommy T brings me back.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, who said that? Tommy T. Thank you. So he posted up saying how good the Foxbody community was, because he did actually that super cool trip with that Celine that something fell on the hatch, and just got in the car and drove it all the way across the country. So yeah, very relatable. Like, hats off. And I know he made like multiple stops along the way. I think somebody hooked him up with a hatch that wasn't all messed up and all this stuff. And so he was going on about, is there any other community that's as good as the Foxbody community? And I chimed in because I feel like the BMW groups, like of the E36, E39 era are like really helpful. And I said it way back in the day when I first did the Infamous Project, right? Like, I felt like when I was doing that and I was looking for like sponsors and help and whatever else, and guys, I'm generalizing when I'm saying this. Most of my views, because I did the E36 BMW and I did the Stalker Vert. Those were the two builds that I did. And the most views were the Mustang crowd. But the most help came from the BMW crowd.
Interesting.
So, I felt like there was, and again, I'm generalizing, and especially this was kind of in a time where BMWs of that vintage were definitely worth a lot more than a Foxbody was, right? So you kind of had different demographics in those groups, but with that came, maybe people a little bit more money or businesses that, had more to give, little bit less, because there's the people out there that want to see other people fail. You know what I mean? Or there's jealousy comes in and all these crazy things. And there is a lot of that lives in the Mustang community in general. I feel like in a lot of communities, but it's just it's there and we see it, it's ugly. And it's unfortunate, but I feel like there's a little bit of that still to this day that is transferred through. So yes, the Foxbody community is great. There's amazing people. Hell, everybody that's on this pod and that supports us are all great people. Like, a hater is not going to come in. If you're a hater and you're trolling on a live stream, like, you really have nothing better to do with yourself. But, you know, that's why I'm speaking as openly as I am. But yeah, great crowd. And there's other great crowds out there, and it's support, right? It's like, surround yourself around like-minded individuals that like to drink beer, put underglow, put Bodykits on their coupes, and have a good time. Have a Celine wing.
It's true. I don't know if there's a lag in comments, because I was watching this, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes ago, and there was nothing for a while. And I don't know, maybe everyone's just enjoying the riveting chat. But then all of a sudden it's just like, they just blow up. And I'm like, there's so much shit.
It's probably based off what we're saying, right? Like, it's triggering ideas and comments. And I've seen people have been going back and forth. I know Pete's been chatting with somebody, and, you know.
Well, I know. So John Lawn Dart, so he's in there saying there's another Foxbody hoarder. So John, I don't know that anyone's going to be able to keep up with you. You got like 3 concourse builds going on at the same goddamn time here. But Joe in Hawaii, I mean, just like as far as 4 wheels are concerned, I don't know where that guy's keeping those things. They must be sleeping outside now. You know, I mean, he's got to be running out of room. Okay, what else do we have here? Finally, Fox HD. Laughing my ass off watching Gary burp. Sorry. I forget that we're filming sometimes, right? I'm just thinking I'm having a FaceTime call with my buddy. So, and yeah, now we're loading these things up on Spotify. But then, yeah, so speaking of BJ Adams, War Admiral said, like, they had him on the pod. He was a great listen. Just down home, you know, like, and I mean this with the best of intentions, but like, real simple guy, right? Like, just doesn't give a shit. I love those types of people. I mean, I'll go to the ends of the earth for anybody like that, you know? So, oh, there was something else I missed here too. Hey, what's that one? I know there's a few, but that one acronym for BMW, is it Bring My Wallet?
Broke my wallet.
Broke my wallet, right?
Or shit, there's a guy that always comments, beers, women, no, beers, beer, money, and women.
BMW.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, what else did we miss here?
Somebody wants to know about your mom that got ripped off with the bad body work and stuff.
Well,
the single mom that your heart was bleeding for.
So I've heard nothing. I've heard crickets. And then I'm trying to think of the name of the guy. I haven't seen him pop up in a while either, but there was a guy that was part of like some sort of a Foxbody club that I connected her with. And he was going to help her get looked after. But then, funny enough, like a post popped up when I opened Instagram, I don't know, over the holidays or something. And I was like, who's this gal? I don't know who this is, right? But showing up in my feed. And I think anyone that's on that platform knows that, you know, between all the ads and everything else these days, like sometimes you don't even know what you're seeing, right? So it turns out it was her, the gal with the rusted out Fox. And it crossed my mind at the time to reach out. And I don't know what I was doing anyway. I never did. And now I'm like, I'll be damned if I can even remember what her handle was on there.
Oh, damn.
So long story short, I don't know. Yeah, I went, well, whatever. If they're out, whoever's asking, you know, probably knows the story. I mean, I was pretty fired up over that whole thing because being the son of a single mom, right? I mean, that shit just doesn't fly for me. Anybody getting bent over doesn't fly for me. You know, we were talking about this the other night. We were at my cousin's for supper, and we were talking about, you know, how whenever money gets involved in anything. And it can even be right down to family, right? Like somebody passes away and there's an inheritance or something. Like people just lose their minds completely, you know? And it's like gloves are off, people lose their souls. And it just, I've never, ever, ever understood that, you know? Like you and I have known each other long enough, you know, like you need money, you need whatever you need, like just come and get it, you know, just don't screw me over, right? That's all I ever ask. But like when it comes to, I don't know, people, money does weird things to people, you know?
Yeah. Well,
And
you know, it's arguable. It's generally, to be honest, though, it's the lack of money. Like when people don't have it or they see the opportunity of getting something or they feel like they're owed, like that's when behaviors and bullshit arises, in my opinion. You know, it's like you really shouldn't have a problem if you got a lot of money and it shouldn't really change you. Maybe, you know, there will be signs, right? But
yeah,
yeah, I feel like it's worse on the other side. The
yeah.
lack of money is the root of all evil.
Well, I know. And then, you know, the other cliche is there's nothing worse than a cheap, wealthy person, right? So you see that a lot less often, I think, but I don't know. Yeah. I think like I've heard both Rogan and somebody was interviewing Dana White talk about it recently, and they both had, and they're obviously buddies, so maybe they've talked about this, but they both had similar answers to like the whole money question. And it's like, you know, money doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but where it does make a difference in my life is it allows me and those close to me to have like our experiences are that much better because
Yeah.
the money allows that experience to occur, right? And I thought, you know, that was pretty cool. But I think even further than that, like, you know, I told you there last week, like my buddy came by and we were having beers, like literally sitting right here on a cement floor on two fucking roller like creepers, right? Having beers. And I'm like, I'll probably remember that conversation for the rest of my life. Like, we didn't have to be in the French Polynesian Islands, you know, like none of that shit. We're just sitting in a shop that smells like gear oil and rattle can paint, you know, like, and that conversation will stick with me forever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, that's the shit that you can't put a price tag on, you know?
Oh, it's true. I think as mentioned, the experiences and the memories that you can create, right? Because like, if you were in the French Polynesian Islands and you meet some local and he like opens your mind, you know what I mean, to some new world realization or personal thing, you know what I mean, you would remember it in just a different light, and it's because you had the
Yeah.
money to travel and have the ability to have a different perspective or outlook or different scenery around you. Because like having the conversation with your buddy with spray paint fumes or brake clean in the background, that's not what you're expecting over there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's going to be an experience that you never would have imagined, that's completely random, that would only come with that scenario. So I think the importance is being able to have the opportunity for said experiences. And if you can't afford to go to the French Polynesian Islands, it's at least, again, surround yourself or make the opportunity. You know, like what's your famous line there that your buddy said? Never waste a
Boner.
hard on and an opportunity to have a beer with somebody, right?
Yeah.
For the
Amen.
conversation, right? So it's along that premise.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. You know, there's all kinds of times. I mean, depending on your life situation, you know, if you got kids or if you don't or whatever, like, you know, and your kid comes down and says like, hey, you know, let's go throw the ball. You know, I'm too busy or I'm too tired or I'm too whatever. You know, your buddy calls you up that you haven't seen in 20 years. Let's go for a beer. Ah, shit, you know, I got to work tomorrow. It's late. Like, you got to do that stuff.
Well, you know what's funny? I'm gonna pull another picture off the wall because there's a few comments that are happening here. And somebody
yeah.
actually asked what I did before. Like, this was my life 10 years ago. Like, this
Yeah.
is at like a 5-star resort in the middle of the desert that was with like another 50 exotic cars on like it was called Cars in Business. And there was more than enough money to go around and have a good time in my life. And Gary knew me when I was getting out of that life, and it didn't matter. It's like, I guess I'm like the monk who sold his Ferrari. You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong. If I had another, like, if I had the money, I'd get another Ferrari. Or if I just decided to sell some of my shit off, I could have another Ferrari again. And I'd like to have another one again. But, you know, there's something to be said with, you know, the people that are around you, what you're looking to experience, what you want out of life. You know, money isn't everything. The objects or the Ferraris aren't everything. It's all about balance. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I don't know, just kind of knowing where you're going and what you're about and what matters to you, you know. I think I don't know. I know that, like, when I was younger, not that I'm like super long in the tooth, but whatever, Chris and I were both 43, right? So got a little bit of experience behind us, but I remember like getting out of school, like it was all about the salary, right? Like how much are you going to make doing X? And because that was going to allow you to like achieve, not even achieve, just realize all these material things that you think matter, right? And then I don't know, you chase that for a while, or at least I did, and Chris did too. Like we had similar life paths. And then, you know, all of a sudden you start to realize to yourself, you're like, none of that shit really makes me feel any better. Like, sure, I'm excited to go drive the Ferrari or, you know, get paid at the end of the month or whatever that looks like, go on a trip. But you're kind of like, yeah, but like, I don't know, there's still something missing in my soul. Like, I feel like I'm not feeding my soul correctly.
Yeah.
And that's where I went on this big long-winded rant a couple pods ago, but like that's where you got to start having your like reverse look at life. Like imagine yourself on your deathbed and go, you know, what am I going to regret if I'm on that sucker tomorrow?
Yeah. Well,
You know?
and you know, it's actually a good way to come back to full circle to pits. Um, you know, for me and Gary, you know, we're talking about logistics and planning and all this stuff. Like, I know I can speak for Gary when, you know, both of our cars being in the asylum parking lot at the pit show is probably the least bit of the priority of the whole thing. The importance of pits is, how are we going to get there and how are we going to create a journey of bullshit or possible breakdowns or memories on the road?
Yep.
What are the beers that are going to be had and shared at the Airbnb, bullshitting with people after hours? You know, meeting some key individuals at the show, which is always good, that, you know, we haven't met before, we get to put a face to the name or the handle on Instagram or whatever it might be. Those are the important things. Like, yeah, we love the cars, but having the cars there and being displayed isn't really the purpose of it. The purpose is the journey, right?
Oh,
And then
100%, pal.
Yeah.
I was I'm trying to think how like I went back on this now, but I watched the start of the video I released when we were done the shit box and it was the final drive to Detroit. And dude, like whatever, right? Obviously, like I created that, so it's gonna hold a special place in my heart, right? Like that's kind of the obvious thing here. But when I watched that first like 30 seconds and like kind of how I introduced it all, and I took that clip of you passed out in the passenger seat, right? Dick in mouth, like totally fucking wide open. I was crying, like pissing myself laughing. And I get excited right now thinking about it. Like those moments will never leave my memory. They're welded in there, you know?
Yeah.
And to your point about the show and everything, like, you know, I'm super pumped for the show and love all that stuff, but like it's all the ingredients that make that good and better, you know? Like you say, getting there, all the shit you're gonna face to get there and everything else, like that's what matters,
Yeah.
you know?
No, so true.
And I guess like for what it's worth, if there's anybody out there thinking about like, and this isn't like a plug or a promotion or whatever, but like if you're thinking about going to this show or any show for that matter, or you got a buddy a state or a province over that you haven't seen in a while, like just pick up the phone and go like, I'm getting in my car, I'm coming over, you know, like when the roads are good, if you're in Canada, or you know what I mean, whatever, but make it happen. Like these are the things that fucking stories are written about. I had another buddy used to say another good saying, and it means a ton when you think about it. No good story started with, so I'm sitting there having a salad. Okay? Don't fuck around. Get out there, make it happen. Like it's up to you, you know? You want to run with the big dogs, you got to get off the porch. Like get out there and have some fun. Like that's why we're all here. I think it's a universal truth. Now I'm preaching. Jesus Christ, I need a beer.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
man.
know, man. I'm super pumped for it. Tennessee on a whole nother level, inside our household anyway, like at least we think, because you and I have only blown through it at 180 miles an hour. So I've never spent any time there, but Tennessee, based on what we've seen from a distance, I think holds a pretty special place in our hearts. Looks like a pretty cool state to visit. So yeah, excited to see all that. Ponies in the Smokies too. I think it's neat. You know, like as much as we all poke fun of the different gens and Mustangs because we're in one and they're in another, whatever. Like, I think this show's got a neat flair to it, right? Kind of like a Mustang Week flair. Like, let's just celebrate the Mustang brand. Is there any Mach-E's coming, by the way? Fuck me. I never even thought to ask that question.
Why are you not going? Is that a deal breaker?
It's gonna be close.
I think they've all caught fire in Cali.
Good. No, sorry. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Them and all the Teslas. It's fine. They're all, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole deal there. Is War Admiral stepping out? Ooh, yep.
Oh, yeah. The man who never sleeps.
Oh, hey. Newfie Mustang's in the house here, buddy. What was that road trip thing you stumbled across on holidays?
Oh, shit. Yeah, that my dad wants to do of all people. I need to look that up and see what it's called. I'm sure he knows what it is. It's like some. Oh, damn it. Where is this going to be here? He's probably going to know just by us saying that and post it up.
Gene bought a brand new F-150 last month. Wife said she liked the Mach-E, almost left her ass there. Attaboy. Hey, here's the thing. I can't remember if I said this somewhere. I just thought it the other day. So pardon me if I've already said it, but
Targa.
The Targa.
Yeah. Targa
Okay.
2025. Okay, sorry to.
Newfie Mustang. You got to let us know about the Targa 2025. Like, quite honestly, I don't have an issue with like the physical vehicle itself. Like, I don't know, it's kind of a crossover-y thing. And I think about the only outfit that's nailed crossovers is probably Audi or BMW. You know what I mean? They've done an okay job making that look good. But anyway, the platform, you do you. Like I'm okay with that. Don't call it a Mustang. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It was just to get the.
I know.
Anyway, we've gone down this road.
Yeah.
But, we actually. There's,
Oh, he bit.
oh,
Targa in September.
Oh, there we go. We got. So you're saying 93 Cobras burning in. Oh, whoops. In Cali, but not as 3. So we've been chatting back and forth. This guy is sort of the Cobra hoarder in Cali.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, he, I don't know. Well, I'm assuming he's putting it out there in public. So let's just say he managed to get himself a 93 Cobra that was sitting in an impound lot for the impound fees.
Oh.
And I saw pictures. Let me tell you, it was a good deal. Way better than that stuff that, well, I don't know how much, Rob, the parts farm. You see those 2 Cobras in that LX notch that got pulled out of pretty much a field. BJ Adams posted it up. So they were like a red and a black, and like they were all like sun faded and corner lights busted out of them. But yeah, so better condition than that for $300.
Right. Well, and you know what, bud? I've noticed recently, because I don't know, I think 93 Cobras is probably every Foxbody guy or gal's best gauge of like kind of where that high watermark sits. And I mean, I've seen some what at least looks like in photos clean, low mile, like relatively speaking, you know, or say average miles, 93 Cobras for like 40, 45, 50-ish, like still whatever, proper money, but definitely not like Barrett Jackson money.
Yeah, no, I think there's been a lot of market correction, if you will. In fact, I'm really curious because Meekum Kissimmee, I think, is coming up. One of the Meekums is. And there's this guy that's plasted his 93 Calypso notch with a Coyote swap, like in every single, like, I'm tired of looking at this thing. And it's like, no price. The only way you're buying this is through the auction, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, get bent. You know, like, you're paying. And he actually responded like, oh, I rather spend the 5% seller fee or whatever it is to get the exposure that Meekum offers. Well, if they're offering you so much exposure, then why do you need to keep posting this up in every damn Facebook group you see? But like, I'm wondering what he's thinking it's worth. Like, people are like, oh, you're gonna get 20, you're gonna get 30. It's probably a 4-cylinder swap car. But it looks really clean. You know what I mean? He's got the chrome 17-inch ponies on it, cowl hood, you know, your basic LX notch starter pack with a Coyote under the hood. But yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to go for to kind of kick off the year. It's like you don't see too many swaps going around, and like it's not cheap to do them.
No.
Right. And like the car, if it has good paint, which it looks like it does, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a 4-cylinder conversion. So I'm just kind of curious on like how that's going to perceived, or how many beers someone at the auction drinks and pays for it versus, you know, Calypso as well. Like if that was a black car, I think it'd be worth 10 grand more.
Right.
Like, you know, through auction, like to the right buyer, a Calypso should be worth more money. But like, I feel like the pedigree of it, I think it's a 93. So if it's a 93 last year and everything, but if you put that up against a really clean black on black notch, I mean, like that's going to get the audience of not necessarily the purists. Now you're talking about a resto mod, ticking all the boxes and everything else. I think a black, whatever this teal one goes for, black could sell 10 grand more.
Yeah. I know that's an interesting topic to break down, right? Because I've seen some like 67 through 72, you know, Blazers, Chevy Blazers and pickups come out of like whatever, like being Barrett Jackson purchases and stuff. And this isn't shitting on the auctions at all. Like, I mean, it's more just a general take on the few things that I've seen, and I've never been to one of the auctions. Maybe I'd have a little bit of a different opinion if I did. I'm sure I would, actually. I'll put it that way. But like, the stuff that I've seen and the rumored numbers that I've heard people pay for those things, I mean, the prices that they've paid are inflated for sure. I think there's kind of there's a marketing schematic behind why you can drink at the auction. You know what I mean?
Well, there's that. There's also, because I would love to do Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale just for
Yeah.
the pure experience of it all. So I think you go there with the intention. It's like when you go to Vegas and you say, I'm only spending $100 in the slot machine.
Right.
We all know how that goes. Generally, like some people are really good at cutting themselves off. Most people not. That's why they're pumping the oxygen in the casinos and they're handing you free drinks as long as you're gambling. I think same thing goes for the auction, but it's like going to a fancy steakhouse and you're paying $80, $100 for this ribeye or whatever it might be. That you could probably cook better yourself at home.
Yeah.
But you go there for the ambiance, for the experience, to say that you went, to say that you ate it, to get the old fashioned with the big ice cube in it, and all of those things as one. Going back to it's about the experience and the story behind it. So, like, okay, fine. Take this, whatever, Calypso notch, whatever, that is worth, if it's a 4-cylinder swap, let's call it 30, 35 or some shit, right?
Yeah.
Some asshole pays 50. That's there, that's in the moment, and it's ticking all the boxes, and he got what he wanted. He was saving his money and he knew he was going to go to the auction and he wasn't going to come home empty-handed because he probably traveled. He's already invested money and time and efforts. You know what I mean? Why would you come home empty-handed at that point? Like for the sake of a little bit of money. And you know what I mean? Like, yeah, some people overpay and there's an ass, but like I've been there. Yeah, I mean, the yellow notch was my auction when I bought that.
Right.
And in fact, I screwed myself because I ended up having to make 2 trips. If I had taken it, I wouldn't have to pay Shop Dad's fucking fuel charge to go back up 2 days later to get it again. So
And the
I feel
tolls.
that there's something about that when you're buying at auction, don't get me wrong, there's really good deals there too. But I feel like for some of the people that overpay, sometimes I feel like that's the only way you're going to get it, because some people, like this guy with the Calypso car, are thinking, I'm not selling it to anyone else. I'm going to maximize my money at the auction, and that's that. You know what I mean? And they're sticking to their guns. Because I feel like some people are they know the cars, they know they're trying to chase certain ones, and that's how the sellers are dealing with it. And some sellers don't want to be known either. You know what I mean? So that's an avenue for sellers to be, if you're famous or whatever it is. Don't need to know who I was, that I own the car. All these people want it. They can fight over it at auction. And I think that those are some of the reasons why they get inflated.
Yeah. Yeah. Good points. I know the stuff I've seen. I think you're right though. Like it's probably best leaving it at that, because I was going to say like some of the stuff I've seen, and I don't know, that's maybe 4, 5, 6 different things, very few. But I was kind of like, really? Hey, like, ooh,
There's
think you
only
maybe
one way to settle this. The War Admiral needs to go to Barrett-Jackson.
Ooh.
He's
Yeah.
left. We can talk shit about him now.
Yeah, that's the thing though, right? Like, I mean, that's a car I've spent multiple hours around, and like, didn't leave. I left more impressed than I even went in, and I was impressed going in, So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's what makes those cars or any vehicle like that special though, right? Is there is a place for things that, all the stuff that you don't see is just as beautiful as the stuff you do. Whereas the things I've seen have kind of been on the other side of that scale, If you know where to look and what to look for, or even if you don't and you just got like a bit of a prying eye, be like, huh, no shit, hey? 80
So
grand? Jesus.
how much would the Georgia Snake sell for?
Is this the 92 Vert?
Yeah, I see it going in the comments here, and I bit because like he's been on fire the past few weeks. I'm seeing this, and apparently he's been banned on a whole bunch of other groups and stuff. And I bid on one because I was just like, somebody was asking like, what the hell's the deal with this thing? And he won't post the SVT certificate anymore because he did way back in the day in the forums. You could see it was photoshopped and whatever else. And my response was, there's some truths to the car because dealers did some stupid shit thinking that they were making limited runs and whatever. And then there's a bunch of like the SVT certificate. We know that that's fake beyond fake. So, you know what I mean? The combination of the two is making this wildfire of a disaster of like, the guy's full of shit or this is fake or blah, blah, blah. It's not real. When I'm sure a dealer probably did build it. But at the end of the day, this guy has made that fucking car famous.
You know, it kind of
Like,
goes back
fake,
to our
fake or not, that car is worth more money. I don't care who you are as a result of his insane efforts than it was if he hadn't done what he did.
it kind of goes back to our Canadian politics conversation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's the JT of 92 Cobras. I mean, fuck. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe was Lance going to talk to him at one point in time, or wasn't somebody going to get him like in a conversation at some point?
I think I'm trying to remember. I know Brutal did a video specific to him. And I don't know.
Was he in it though, the owner?
No, Brutal did a lot of like, what's the word? Like recon or research back into the old forum days. And I think that's actually when it kind of sparked, and maybe that's where the SVT certificate surfaced and this other so-called documentation that he has. But, you know, man, he's taken that story to, and I think he knows, right? I think he's smart enough at this point, especially with the certificate, but like the dealer, some of those aspects are holding true. But yeah, I'm curious to know, like, if he was to try and sell that car today, how much would someone pay for it? It needs to come with the big rubber Cobra that he has, though, that he puts on the cowl when he takes a picture.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just so many angles of that story that I'm interested in, right? Like, I gotta think that he's stayed committed this long just because he's put in so much effort. But like at the same time, I think, I don't know, there are people out there. I mean, I have a hard time saying this because, well, fresh off of referencing JT, I mean, the most narcissistic fuck under the sun. I don't know if that individual knows what type of a fuck he is. But so then, as I say that, I'm having a hard time saying what I'm about to say about the other guy. Maybe he's in the same boat. I don't know. I don't know the guy, so it's unfair of me to, say this stuff. So, but I mean, just the grim reality. Like, even if you knew nothing about this, right? Like, let's say there was a course in school on Mustangs, and you asked a kid that was freshly out of that course, hey, you ever heard of the 92 Cobra? Fuck off. What are you talking about? Right? Like,
Yeah.
so from that perspective, it's like, man, how have you maintained course this long? It just doesn't make sense. Or how have you just not faded off into the sunset?
Yeah.
Just so many questions.
You know, he'd make a great murderer because he'd take it to the grave for sure. So Brent's saying Lance had him on his podcast, so that might be one to listen to. Might need to do some digging and hear
Okay.
that. And then yeah, so It's not a Canadian Cobra. That's already been debunked. This is something different, because I think Canada had dropped the Cobra terminology by 92 as well, if I remember correctly. I think it was maybe only up till 9. I could be wrong, but this individual is claiming that it was a promotional built Cobra convertible to promote the 93 Cobras that were coming out the following year. And he's leaning more in now to the story about it was a dealership that built 10 of these promotional Cobras. And of course, nobody could find number 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only number 2, which is his, is out there. So,
Right.
Yeah, and the car was totaled. The Carfax is dirty. It was an LX car that got converted, and this and that, and the next thing. So it's sort of like a dealership would have had to have wrecked 10 cars and then decided to convert them all to this so-called Cobra look and feel.
Right.
Which, would the dealership even have access to those 93 Cobra wheels back when this was done? Anyways, let's not even get down there. There's all these things. Maybe we'll listen to the podcast and then we'll come back and we'll reevaluate our thoughts and opinions here.
Well, okay,
Let's hear the man speak first.
Yeah, true. There's a couple people saying, "Hey, I'm not on social media. Like, what's the deal?" So, like, literally, just the elevator pitch on this is: there's a fellow out there that has a '92 convertible that he claims is a '92 Cobra, and they made 10 of them. Like, he's trying to claim that Ford made 10 of them. They were super rare, super like under the radar, and that's kind of the whatever from floor 1 to 2 elevator pitch, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like in the old forum
and he's
posts,
driving it home. So like on any post, the title is like, "Here's me and my 1992 promotional Cobra." Like,
yeah,
this isn't an individual that's just saying, "Oh, here's my car," and passively is trying to, share this information. This guy, in every single post he makes, this is a 92 Cobra.
yeah.
So this is why you can tell that there's a lot of commotion. There's a lot of discussion and opinions floating around on the internet, because this dude is passionate about what he has. This isn't just some like, something in the background and he could care less or whatever. Like, he's on a mission.
He's all in. Hey, Benny was in the chat here. Geez, he was one of our like early podcast guests, eh?
He was.
Yeah, the man that plays for 2 teams, the IROC, Z, or Z if you're up north, and the Fox. Yeah, he's got the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. Oh shit.
Oh, there's some good stuff in the chat. Now, like, one of the heartbreakers about doing this is like, I kind of want to just like be a fly on the wall and just sit and read the chat, because like this thing's blowing up and I'm like,
well, that's why it was
howling
good
to myself.
Yeah, like when you were going around doing the tour with your car, it was actually good, because I was like, oh, okay, he's busy talking stuff I've already seen. I can focus on the chats a little bit more. But this was actually good. I've been sort of watching the view count, and I'm surprised people have held on this long. I guess it might be an indicator of something. Now, guys, for anybody listening to the podcast, we do fully intend on taking this and just uploading it for next Monday. So don't be surprised that there's no official podcast, because this is kind of it. We figured we'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but maybe it's something we should get in the books a little bit more monthly, or I guess as we're building up to pits and trying to get our cars finished and stuff like that, a good little interaction for everyone.
I think so, dude. And I mean, maybe we can throw this out to everybody that's still kind of hanging around. Like, if you get a kick out of like whatever the live walkarounds, because I know that from anybody that I'm watching from a distance and stuff, I've always got questions, and this kind of makes it way more interactive. Granted, you guys got to type and whatever to ask questions or whatever. Show me more about this or tell me more about that. Yeah, if you're into it, I mean, Chris and I mean, hell, lately we haven't caught up a whole bunch other than just like once a week on the pods and stuff. But, you know, when we're doing these chats and, you know, we could just walk around and in the live format, talk about the stuff that we typically talk about in videos. Yeah, we can find the time. Give us a good reason to catch up a little more.
No, for sure. I think people just kind of enjoy the live aspect as well, because then like they really know that we're not rehearsing
We ain't
stuff.
fake beer drinkers.
Yeah. Well, you so more than me these days, but it's all
True.
good. But yeah, no, maybe that's a good suggestion. You know, if it's more lives, less podcasts, like if we just do one a month, you know what I mean? That way it's like 3 pods a month and 1 live that doubles as a pod and a live. We can do that.
Yeah.
And Kelly Vert, that must be Hector. Yeah, we're talking about driving to pits, man. So you'd be one that could actually come from Cali, stop in Texas, and convoy with us. So yeah, maybe that's something we'll have to throw out there and see if we can make happen. Like if Gary's committed to driving down to Texas first and all.
Yeah. Yeah, then it does kind of make sense to go down and over.
We'll call it the Mellow Yellow 1000.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when it's all said and done, it's definitely going to be like, well, if I go your route, yeah, 10,000, well over 10,000 kilometers.
Well, no, I think it's 1,000 miles from Texas to Tennessee, right? So if you trailered here and we were driving both cars, then it'd be the 1,000.
Right.
Well, 2,000 return, I guess.
Just on my mind. Yeah, buddy, that's the plan. The Green Dragon's coming. So, yeah. Actually, I don't know if I've ever said where that bloody nickname came from, but remember the movie Old School and the Red Dragon?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess we would have been in our late 20s, early 30s. It was kind of like the time when this car was on rollers and just tucked against the wall. And anyway, all my buddies at the time knew that it was. And anytime they'd get together at my place, hey, what's going on with the Green Dragon, right? Are you taking the restrictor plate off it or what are you doing? You know, that's where that nickname came from.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Frank the Tank. Not exactly street legal. That's one of the best movies ever. Fuck, that movie makes me piss myself.
So your Green Dragon thing just reminded me, like this might have even been before YouTube or very around there. There was this guy at like in a parking lot car meet type thing with an old school Honda Civic. And I got this Honda Civic DX and he's talking about overnight parts from Japan and a shot of alcohol, Jack Daniel's alcohol injection. And then he gets to the gas store and there's a dragon fucking like airbrush thing on it. And he's like, and this is a dragon and this is like, it blows like a spell. And so this is just where my mind is going. So this like little skit that this guy does with this Honda Civic, I need to find this and post it. It is the funniest shit that I remember watching back in the day. Holy hell. Yeah. The fucking dragon power.
Okay. Everybody that's still hanging out is definitely a lover of the movie. You know, one of the lines out of that movie or one of the scenes that kind of gets probably the least amount of credit is when they're at that like petting zoo. And I think it's one of the kids' birthday parties. And Stifler's like one of the fucking handlers of the animals. Will Ferrell dummies himself with that dart in the neck. Yep. Oh my God. That is a banger. My God, I laugh. Actually, over the holidays, dude, I revisited a bunch of old Adam Sandler movies with the kids.
Right.
And yeah, like Mr. Deeds, Big Daddy, 51st Dates we watched. That was another one. And then I got thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, like, you know, now the kids are sort of getting a handle on like how I grew up and where a lot of my humor comes from. I'm like, I wonder if we could do like Step Brothers, right? And so I started watching that one with them. And we made it through the scene where Will Ferrell's dropping his nuts all over the drum kit of that John C. Riley's. Fuck. And I was flinching at the time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching this with my 10 and 12-year-old daughter, or sorry, 12 and 14-year-old daughter. And then in and around the time where they're sitting in the treehouse reading the nudie mags,
Oh,
I was like, okay, I think we're gonna have to wrap this thing here, right? Like it's getting a little too out of hand.
oh, those were great, man. They don't. We were talking about that when we were on holidays, right? Like just the shows. Actually, so today there's that new Tim Allen show called Shifting Gears with Kat Dennings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a spin-off of I think anyways, because there was that other show that Tim Allen did after Home Improvement. So there's something like he owns like a hot rod shop or something. Anyways, it's still automotive related, but like she's funny as shit. And then obviously Tim Allen's Tim Allen, right? And I just ironically, right, I finished revisiting my Home Improvement series there the other month, and boom, this show's popping out. So I think that yeah, you can watch it on Hulu or something. So I'm excited because yeah, like they don't make, it's like we were looking for Christmas movies and it's just like they don't make them like they used to. You're always watching the old shit. You know, same thing with like sitcoms. Like there's a couple good shows out there, but maybe we're just getting old.
Yeah. Well, and like you know, a staple in our house is Christmas Vacation, right?
Oh yeah.
National Lampoons. Like absolute home run any time of year. But I mean, I think I own that fucking thing on VHS, you know? So like we got no ability to watch it. So every year I, like the idiot I am, I go looking for it on all the fucking $9, $10, $12 streaming services that I bleed money to every month. And all those pricks are charging like $30 to watch the movie. I'm like,
It's free on Hulu, dude. Or maybe like Canadian Hulu. Do you even have Hulu in Canada?
nothing's free up here. Christ.
I don't even know if you have the platform there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely not one that's on my credit card statement.
Like you have Discovery and Netflix and probably Disney and shit, but I want to say Hulu does not exist in Canada, and that's probably the best one.
Huh.
You got to get yourself a VPN. Actually, fuck that. You need to just pack your shit and move down here.
Well, maybe this is a good place to wrap. Maybe I don't need to. Maybe BC is going to be part. Yeah.
Yeah, next year Gary's going to be bragging like, "Oh, I'm only a couple hours away from all the East Coast shows because I live here now, bitch."
Yeah, it's true. It would be nice to get rid of that border and get a dollar that's actually worth something. Jesus, Murphy. You know,
it's a good time to buy up there, let me tell you. I almost bought a pair of mint black leather vert seats, front and rear, because I'm like, that converted in US my buying power right now. I'm like, it's like worth it to buy those.
right. Yeah.
So,
No, I know for like when we went down to Seattle over Christmas, they're like sitting at the border. Even so, this was sorry coming back. So we're trying to get back into Canada and sitting in the lineup. I mean, based on what I could see in my peripheral around me of all the cars, like we were the only Canadian license plate, right? Like I think it's just Americans that kind of know the program going like, holy shit, we get like a 40% increase on every dollar we make by going up there. Let's go, right?
yeah.
Start the car. And same thing with the lineup coming back in, all American cars, like obviously, but yeah, like it's just so like economically feasible to gain 40% on every one of your dollars, right?
Yeah.
So, but everything, man, like these spindles, now granted, they're, you know, like together, they're about 30 pounds in a box. But like to send these things 2 hours was $84.
Damn.
Yep.
Well, man, shipping's expensive right now in
Yeah,
general.
it is.
You know, I think like even here, like there used to be once whatever USPS is now fuck Pitney Bowes or whatever half private sector now or whatever they did to it. Yeah, it wrecked everything.
Yeah. Did we figure is Cali Vert we figured it was maybe Hector?
It's got to be. I can tell those are 20s in his picture there.
Okay, I'm looking at a small screen, so you know what, buddy? Like out east, the Toronto Foxbody guys put on a pretty good show, but that's like, you're putting the miles on to get out that way. But I think it's just kind of like an evening gathering. Hey, you'd know better, Chris. Like, outside of that, yeah, like we're not really doing ourselves any favors in that side of things. There's hot rod shows and stuff, right? Like bring everything, but nothing really mind you, last year in Calgary was the international Mustang thing or whatever, right? I wasn't in attendance, but apparently it was a pretty decent time, right? All Mustangs or all gens. And but yeah, there's not really a whole lot on that front, right? You gotta really want to come up here and if you want to take advantage of the dollar. So
No, you want to tag it on with something else. Like I don't think any of the shows would be like worth a big, huge um, investment or plan over. Um, Fly in, fly out, it'd probably be your best bet for some of that stuff, just to kind of. Sometimes you enjoy stuff more that way, but I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
less moving parts, right?
yeah,
No, it's true. And I mean, I know we're kind of getting lean on people and it's getting late everywhere, but Chris and I talk about this quite often. Any Fox that was in the ownership of someone that kind of realized what it sort of was, or maybe it was just special to them. Like, I guess where I'm going with this is, in my opinion, pound for pound, I think there's a lot of clean Foxes in Canada. And so much of it has to do with the temperature and everything else, right? We get 4 seasons, most definitely. If not, some places just get two, it's either hot or fucking cold. So a lot of this stuff sleeps in warm, climate controlled environments, you know, which is really funny. Like, that's honestly something that I've learned later in life, because I can remember back in my late teens going like, oh man, you got to go to Cali or Arizona, or, like you got to get to one of these hot states to get like a clean car. And at the time, they probably were. But like all those years piled on top of each other, we know what that does to rubber and plastic and
yeah.
tape, and you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I would say that's a fair argument that I could probably make with most people out there, right? Like, Canada's got some clean cars.
No,
Got some
for
shit
sure.
ones too. That
Oh
yellow
yeah.
one's, a little rough.
Oh no,
Well,
there's lots of cool stuff hiding in Canada for sure. That's been
yeah,
protected and kept out of the weather and all that other stuff. So
yeah,
surprisingly, there's a lot.
yeah. Well, we're hitting our magic number here, buddy. For any of you guys that listen to our pod, we kind of start running out of breath around 3 hours.
Yeah. No, I think it was good. I think I actually saw in the comments there. I think it's a good opportunity to allow people to actually interact a little bit more because it
Mm.
is live and then they're like chatting amongst each other. So I think, yeah, we might have to make this a more common occurrence. I think people would appreciate it. So
I seen Chuck's name pop up once in a while, like someone else mentioned him. I'm like, am I missing his comments every time, or he was
he
sneaking
said he was
around
going to
in the
bring a
weeds?
trailer for pits. So I did see that comment. But man, it's hard to I'm trying to look at you. I'm trying to make sure that it looks like I'm looking at the camera. And then all the comments are like over there. So,
Yeah.
I need to be like
I-
Mr. Meow, have an eyeball looking off to the side.
Yeah, totally. And I know, I think Dell has been in here since the start. Guys,
Yeah.
I mean, it'd take us a while to rattle off everyone, but like to each and every one of you, thanks so much. I mean, we really appreciate you guys tagging along and chiming in and all that good stuff. And we're on the downhill slide, right? We're in January, but I always look at things like once you're out of Christmas and you've been past New Year's, now you're ready to rock and roll, right? Like we're not too far out of the way here before it's car
Oh, look
season.
at us
So
for planning already. We got something in 2 months' time, 2 months,
Yep.
2 weeks, or a week, or whatever it is. So,
Jesus, that's getting tight, eh? Oof.
I know. Yeah, you better get that car started.
I know. Hopefully tomorrow, I'm cycling the key. We're ready to rock and
We
roll.
might have to
And
do
after
another
that-
live.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, this thing I've been dragging out for so long, and listen, just so everybody knows, I'm honestly not trying to fan the flames here at all. This is literally how it's just gone for me. But yeah, I know I thought about that too, right? I'm like, how do I rig up as many cameras as possible and do this so there's like if there was live or if there was Instagram or whatever, right?
You need to record your face on the first fire. So whatever you got to do to just position and get your
dash
what
cam.
I mean? Like just the cringe is like you hear it turning over and waiting
Well,
for the noises.
That's the thing, dude. I've said this before. I probably shouldn't say it again. I'm gonna knock on a stud behind the drywall here, but yeah. I mean, a guy that's never rebuilt a supercharger. Let's not forget that is bolted to the motor, and the belt goes around it. So, yeah,
Oh, you'll be
we'll
fine.
see.
Yeah. But yeah, awesome. Thanks again, everyone, guys, as Gary mentioned. And yeah, we'll definitely do some more planning for some more lives. We'll make that, I guess, a priority for 2025.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, if you're in Cali, you're safe. If you're in Texas, you're not frozen, and everywhere in between, that all's good. Get wrenching. Lots of shows coming up.
Yeah, true story. Hope to see you at Pits, folks. Okay, good night, guys.
Good night.